What is going on, everybody? It's your boy Clint from the Die Hard MMA podcast. It is Monday. We are right back in the throne room. We're in the office. We're in the war room. We're working on UFC 263, and I am so ready to talk some fights. I've got I scraped by a win at UFC Vegas 28, and I'm angry. I'm pissed off. I'm hungry because your boy left money on the table, and there's nothing worse than having easy spots and just letting them pass on by. So I am pumped up. I'm ready to rock, and this is a absolutely stacked card. UFC 263 is going to be incredible. Great fighters. Lots of action. We've got a live crowd coming back, and we know that always ups the ante for those fighters in there, where I expect to see a lot of action and a lot of finishes this week. Let's welcome in the chat. We've already got 40 live viewers this evening. How y'all doing? Dog MMA, first one in the house. What's up, my friend? Thank you for jumping in here. Chase Warwick, Nigel Lee, Uncle Weezy. What's up, buddy? Mohammed Boston, the Grateful Dude, the Gaming Wolf 87, Jacksonville Zoe, the DXJC 56, Tony C, Dan Goldstein. I see a lot of familiar names. I am loving it. And my boy DFS by the numbers himself hanging out in the chat today. Thank you all so much again. And Razor Sharp showing up on the dot. Got to give you your props there, buddy. How you doing? Sasha Creighton, Joshua Lazar. All the names just keep on rolling in here. All right, so we have a schedule. We have some amazing, excellent guests for you on the Die Hard MMA podcast for the next foreseeable future, actually. I've been working my ass off to get lined up good, solid guests for you all, and we had a bit of a snafu. We were supposed to have my guy Matt Holt on the show this evening, a regular guest here on the show, and he had a business trip that came up very suddenly and had to dip out. We threw up the bat signal, and we have been saved by none other than the man himself, Dan Levy, the host of Best Fight Picks Half the Battle. You may well know him. Dan, what's going on, buddy? Welcome to the show.
Doing absolutely phenomenal. I know we're gonna get a lot of comments. Oh, why is he wearing sunglasses indoors? Well, firstly, these glasses are badass, but secondly, just got my eyes dilated, so cut me a little slack. But just like you were saying, man, you're super hungry, dude. I'm super hungry, man. Look, the first 6 months of 2021 were my worst 6 months ever in my betting career. And I mean, look, when you got a 7-year sample, near 7-year sample size like I do, not every day, not every month, not every year is going to be your best. But man, that week off just really recharged me, refocused me. And I really want to do this again. And I'm so excited to be here on a card like this with you. And let's get down to business, man.
I love it, man. I love it. And that's we need those weeks off sometimes, man. Especially you've been doing this game a whole lot longer than I have. These runs can get exhausting, man. And the people that are new to betting or just haven't been doing it that long, they sometimes don't understand the swings. When you get in one of those ruts, you get on a couple weeks in a row where you just can't quite seem to get anything right. It's one of the most exhausting things you can ever run into, and you still got to pick yourself up and get in front of the camera and do a show. So props to you, man. I'm glad to hear you're recharged. I'm amped up. I'm ready to go. Let's do a quick short recap of last week's event. Let the people know how we're doing, and then we'll roll right on into UFC 263. How'd you do last week?
So listen, I was proud of the work I put in. I felt like I capped a lot of these fights right, and I felt like last week was a step in the right direction compared to the first 6 months. I really felt like I got my fire back. I was excited to look into the fights because, again, like I said, when you have a 7-year sample, you see these guys with 2-year sample sizes, they're killing it, and I'm happy for them. But how do you do in year 5? How do you do in year 6? Do you even make it to year 7, right? I'm in year 7 now, so you can get burnt out at times. But now I really felt like I put in the work last week. And I just had a little bit of bad luck. For example, Mason Jones, easy ass money. It was a push. It was what it was. Floyd Mayweather, easy ass money. It was a push. It was what it was. And then Antonio Arroyo plus 220. I fade Tom Breeze not every fight, but almost every fight because KB Bueller, I wasn't fading him there. But here I wanted that plus 220. Tom Breeze pulls out the day of the fight for the 3rd time in a row. He did it against Bang Bosi, he did it against Ian Heinisch, and now he did it against Arroyo. So I didn't get to do that. So only bets that got to actually take place and have a result were Muslim Salikov, which was great, and Miguel Baeza lost a close fight. So I felt like I capped these fights pretty well last week, and I'm just looking to continue that momentum this week, and I'm very excited. Some of my favorite prospects on this card, and there's a lot of opportunities, gentlemen.
I completely agree. There's a ton of opportunities here on this card. And man, I want to run through last week. I got Gregory Rodriguez at plus 140. That was a sweet spot. My guest, Lucrative MMA, actually gave me that extra little push off the cliff last week to get me on that spot. I am always looking to be on the opposite side of Dusko Todorovic, and I was a little nervous to go back to the well after fading him the last time out. So we got there with that one. I had the same exact issue with Mason Jones, man. I had him in a parlay with Montana De La Rosa. That was easy money at plus 100. And then I had the Mason Jones round 3 prop at 8-1. And damn if that didn't look like it was coming through, man. Alon had nothing left to give. And if we had just heard the bell at the end of round 2, I guarantee it wasn't hitting the judges' scorecards. So I felt a little robbed there. I did sprinkle Lorano Staropoli in round 3, and Roman Dolidze just did what he had to do, man. That was a little frustrating for me because I thought he was going to get too tired. I thought he was going to slow down too much, gas out, and then Staropoli was going to have some openings. But credit to Roman. He did exactly what he had to do to stay safe just long enough, not take any big shots, clinch up every time they got close. And Staropoli just doesn't have that one-hitter-quitter type of power he would have needed to put the tired fighter away. So I'm gonna get it. One of these days, I'm gonna get Roman Dolidze, but it wasn't meant to be. Just a few little sprinkles there. Nailed Jairzinho Rosenstruik.
Nice.
But if we're talking about our victories, we got to own up to our losses, man. I took the shot on Walt Harris. That may have been as much of a bet with my heart as it was with my head. And we're never allowed to do that. We are not supposed to do that. But I honestly felt like this was his coming out party. I honestly felt like if Walt Harris is ever going to have a resurgence, this is going to be the time. Now is the time. Now is the spot. And man, he damn near ended the fight in the first round like he always does. Just didn't quite get it done. And I was honestly a little bit floored by his inability to stand up. I know Marcin Tybura has a good ground game, but at this stage of your career, you got to know how to defend your opponent having a single hook in if you're a professional MMA fighter. So I got to say, I will always root for Walt with my heart, but after seeing that, I can't bet on the guy ever again, man. That was rough.
Yeah, it's just about him finding that balance between, unloading the clip. Because look, he hits hard. He hits so goddamn hard that when he's got these guys on, you can't call it, that street anymore. You know what street I'm talking about. When you got guys on that street, we can't mention that word anymore. It's easy to lose your mind and try to unload on them and try to get them out, especially when you've seen a guy like Tybura be put away in the first round before against Augusto Sakai. Even Greg Hardy had a lot of success in that first round. But listen, I think with a guy like Walt, you just got to take time off, man. What he went through was an unthinkable tragedy, and we all desperately want to see him have that moment where he gets that win and he gets to have this beautiful speech. We all cry, we are all happy for him, because no matter what, none of us think any less of Walt. I mean, unless you're a piece of shit, which I know you're not. So yeah, I mean, we all root for Walt Harris. And listen, man, just take some time off. Let's give this guy a tune-up fight. It's hard to give someone a tune-up fight when their last 3 wins are Arlovsky, Olenek, and Spivak. Like, you're beating guys that are either ranked or right next to the ranking, so you got to fight tough guys. But now I feel like, look, 3-fight losing streak, all TKO losses. Now it's time to, get him in there with, give him fucking Rocky Martinez, man. Let him go out there and starch someone. Let him get his confidence back, or at least maybe let him go out on a win. Maybe let him retire and then go to the commentary booth. The guy is a very well-spoken individual, is just a great person. I just want to see Walt Harris do well.
I agree. I'm right there with you, man. He'll always have me as a fan, but I got to cut it off from the sports betting standpoint. I got to call it a day. All right, so there we go, man. Let's get into UFC 263. The people are here to hear us talk about it and try and put some money in their pockets. We've got 118 live viewers. This is Pub Sports Radio. Without them, none of this would be possible. So make sure you give them a follow if you haven't already. And man, here we go. Vettori versus Adesanya 2, the rematch. We are going to bounce all the way down here to the preliminary card, and we are kicking the night off with Carlos Felipe taking on Jake Collier. Collier, not sure which way you pronounce that one anymore. But, man, we talked about Jake. He came right off the couch after his long hibernation a couple fights ago. The UFC sacrificed him to Tom Aspinall, and then he got another fight. And I'll be honest, Dan, when he got a second fight, I was like, oh no, like they're just absolutely burying this poor kid to springboard anybody they possibly can before he hangs it up, because he used to fight at 185 and now he looks like Roy Nelson's son. Like there's no comparison between the two men at all whatsoever. He came out in that next fight and he wasn't quite as pudgy, Dan. He was a little slimmer. In fact, he was showing a little bit of muscle definition. He looked like a real heavyweight all of a sudden. And then I went back and I looked at the numbers and I went, holy shit, how did this guy ever make 185? In this fight here with Carlos Felipe, he's actually going to have a 3-inch reach advantage, and he's got like a 2-inch height advantage. This dude is huge. What it showed me the last time out is that he's not phoning it in. Man, I fully expected him to take that ass beating from Tom Aspinall, show up for one more paycheck, and then walk out and go home, and we'll never see or hear from him again. But he showed me that he's interested in still fighting. He showed me that he's still interested in being a professional mixed martial artist. And when I went back and watched the tape, Dan, I think he's the more well-rounded fighter than Carlos Felipe. Felipe is super heavy, flat-footed. He's got good, solid boxing and one hell of a chin on him, don't get me wrong. But he just won a split decision over Justin Tafa. Jake Collier is a well-rounded mixed martial artist, and if he shows up in a little bit better shape the way he did last time, I expect him to be the better man on Saturday. I'm already on a dog, man. I took Jake Collier at plus 165, and I'm just pissed off I didn't notice how good this line was in advance, because he opened up at like plus 235. How do you feel about this first fight on UFC 263?
Okay, so there's no debate that Jake looked better than his Aspinall fight in the last one, but I mean, I think literally anything would be better than the Aspinall performance. So, and we can't just conveniently leave out that he was fighting Jean Vellante, or as we like to say in Brazil, my friend, Jean Valanche. I mean, like, that's no disrespect to anyone that steps inside the cage. We respect them all. But I mean, listen, when I saw Jean Vellante fight Maurice Green, I had no intentions of betting Maurice Green until I saw Vellante 6 months pregnant at the weigh, and I was like, oh, okay, I'm going to take Maurice Green straight here. And, you know, that was a shit show. Jake Collier, after he looked nine months pregnant against Aspinall, he goes out there. Exactly. That's what I was going to say. My boy Nigel, he said the guy that ate Collier was the former, 85er. So that's how I felt too, man. So I personally, and, maybe I'm dead wrong, I don't put much stock into beating up Jean Vellante. Like, if you're in the UFC and you haven't figured out how to beat Jean Vellante yet, like, I don't really know what to say. Whereas Felipe, I know he had that tough fight with Tafa, but just when you look at it stylistically, look, one thing we can say about Tafa, boy's got hands. He's got hands. He can throw down. He can knock people out. He can do his thing. And I think that's Felipe's style as well, to trade good shots in the pocket. So stylistically, that's just how they matched up. Whereas here with Collier, he's kind of got his spin kicks. He kind of tries to keep his distance. So I think there's a little bit of a contrast in the styles. And I'm going to have to say that the cardio of Felipe is actually better than Jay Collier, because if you look at the numbers, Jay Collier, despite teeing off on a punching bag named Jean Vellante, the strike numbers went down every single round. And you can get away with that against a guy like him. And I'm not saying Felipe is the next this or the next that. I'm not even going to go there. But I just think he's got, a higher ceiling than Jay Collier. And not to be, Mr. Conspiracy in terms of, win one, lose one, win one, lose one. Therefore, because remember when Andre Fili used to be that guy that would win one, lose one, and then all of a sudden he got on a win streak. Then all of a sudden, you see what I'm saying? So, and then Randa Marcos was another one, win one, lose one, and then she loses 3 in a row. So you can't listen to those, No, that shit doesn't work in MMA. Exactly. But I just think Felipe is a little hungrier, and I think that he'll take over down the stretch. Let's see what happens.
Based on appearances, are you sure Felipe's hungrier?
I don't mean hungrier for a cheeseburger. I mean hungry for a dub.
All right. That was a bad joke. All right.
Hey, I
feel you. I feel you. All right, so slight disagreement early on this one. I don't mind it. I don't hate it. I know I'm going to catch a lot of flack for taking the man who ate Jake Collier, but you know me, man. I'm one of those guys that if I've got a hot take, I will stand by it. If I got to go down with the ship, so be it. I think it's a dog or pass spot. I'm not impressed enough to lay this price with Carlos Felipe at this point, and I think it's going to be close. I think it'll come down to a close 15-minute decision. And with the way the judging has been and things like that, the fact that we've got volume fighters, guys that know what they're doing on the feet and are going to have some fun in there, this thing could be really close. And anytime you go to a split decision, you want that plus money. So I'll roll the dice on the dog here to start the night.
Good luck.
All right. I appreciate that. All right, man. So first fight of the night in the books. Next up, we have got Ziam taking on Luigi Vendramini. And I am so torn here, Dan. I am so absolutely torn here because both of these guys were underrated in their last fights out, and I cashed on both of them. So it makes it really tough when they line them up against each other for the next fight, man, because I'm looking to back both these guys in underrated underdog roles, and I'm successful 1-1 with each of them, but now I got to pick which one I think is going to win when they face off. It doesn't feel right. I want to back them both. I might have to take the fireball and popcorn approach and stay away from this one, but breaking down how it matches up, man. Ziam, he's a rangy striker. He likes to play outside. He's got heavy, hard leg kicks. He's got a nice lead counter hook, and he has heavy clinch elbows on breaks. When he gets tied up with anybody, I noticed he's got that sick overhand elbow that he likes to smash the side of people's faces with. He knows well to keep his back off the cage. His jiu-jitsu game is actually pretty strong, man. He's got good, solid butterfly hooks. He uses sweeps. He's able to, get a reversal, get on top position, and he's got solid wrestling paired with that. When he's on top, he does have a smothering wrestling top game. Luigi Vendramini on the other side of this thing is gonna have a slight reach advantage, about 2 inches, and this is a killer be killed guy. He's a explosive finisher, 100% finish rate, 5 knockouts, 4 submissions, and then his only loss is by knockout. So this guy just does not get his way to the cards. He's got good footwork, good side-to-side movement on the outside, and then he blitzes. He's a guy that comes in heavy and fast. He's got fast hands, big power, and explosive level changes too. When he decides he wants to go in for a takedown, he goes in and he goes in hard. He also likes to look for the body lock. I noticed in his last fight, he wasn't able to do anything with it, but he does look for it. And I think that's one of the ways he likes to just explode and rip people to the mat. So, man, I am torn, like I said, on this one. It kind of comes down to your philosophy. And maybe it's an issue with the way I personally bet on MMA fights, but I always tend to side with the power hitters. I always tend to side with the Francis Ngannous of the world, the Jairzinho Rosenstrikes. I believe that they're going to hit that big bomb. And I know there's a lot of people out there. Shout out to my boy Cody Saftik. He is always taking the grinders. He is always taking the wrestlers. This line opened up about a pick'em. And Ziam is now about a minus 140 favorite. So money's coming in on the grinder in this spot here. And I'm a little tempted on the plus 120 for Luigi Vendramini to come in here and do the damn thing. But like I said, it's a thin value spot. It's a pick 'em fight for a reason. So maybe the best answer is to stay off it. But what do you feel about this one, man? How do you break this matchup down?
I never really considered Ziam a grinder. I thought that he was kind of like a long striker. It's just that he got pinned up against the fence his last fight. And real quick, because I understand that a lot of people are under the impression that the Ziam versus Jamie Mullarkey fight was this massive robbery. And, I get it. If you bet on Mullarkey, you're pissed. But, like, the reality of what happened – listen, do you guys know Joe Silva, the former UFC matchmaker, prior to Sean Shelby and Mick Maynard? He always had a famous quote, and that quote was, "You can't win a fight by putting your head between a man's legs." And, that's what Mullarkey did in that fight. And you actually look at the strike counts. Not only did he double up Mullarkey on strikes, he surpassed that number 2. And every single time that Mullarkey would get takedowns, Ziam would get back up. And my boy Meat Man is 100% correct about that. Represent the A. But I just I think he got a little heavily criticized for that. But there's still, it's one of those things where like Clint, One guy was born in 1997. One guy was born in 1996. I wouldn't know a damn thing about being born in the 90s, let alone the late 90s, Clint. I know you can relate to that. So,
Absolutely.
But what I'm trying to say by that is you're going to be seeing, and thank you very much for the nice words. You're going to be seeing these guys making these big leaps and improvements every single time you see them fight. So, on one hand, you got kind of the long, rangy striker like you were talking about, Ziam, 6'1", 75-inch reach. He's been in there with some tough guys to start off his UFC career, but you want to talk about being in there with tough guys. How about Luigi Vendramini making his UFC debut up a weight class against Alexis Zaleski? And I understand, if you just go on Wiki or Tapology, he says he got knocked out in the second round with a flying knee, but let's not ignore what happened in the first round. One doesn't simply take the back of Alexis Zaleski in their UFC debut, especially when you're some young kid who's never been in there with anyone remotely close to that. So that already gave me a good first impression. Comes back his next fight against the guy that went the distance with Darren Till, finished him in the first round. So I got to go with the underdog here, man. I thought that, the pick'em, okay, I understand the pick'em, but now that the action's actually coming in on Ziam, I want to go the opposite way. And again, it's not the most confident pick because these are just two kids. So we're going to be seeing a completely different version every time. We're going to be seeing new wrinkles in their game every time. But from what I've seen so far, I got to go with the guy I consider more dangerous and honestly more battle tested. You're in there with Elizu Zaleski. They both got my respect, but take Elizu's back. Okay, that's all I had to hear. I'm going to go with Luigi Vendramini to get this done and pull off the upset.
Man, I'm glad you brought that up because that's an excellent point to make. And especially hitting that kind of a position on a guy like that shows a higher level. That absolutely shows a window to something that they're capable of and haven't had the opportunity to show yet. So if you're looking at someone like Ziam, who's going to look to sweep, who's going to look to reverse, is he going to be able to get that on someone who can make that kind of a high-level transition? Maybe not. And I've seen Ziam end up on his back more often than not and then look for that reversal and get to that top position. So if we're thinking that there's a slight grappling edge potentially for someone like Luigi, then that gives me a little bit more confidence that direction as well. Let's see where this line ends up. But I definitely am on the dog side here more than not. And if money keeps on coming in on Ziam, we may end up pulling the trigger here because plus 120 already doesn't look half bad at a pick'em style fight. If we end up getting up to plus 140 or plus 150, God forbid, something like that, that's going to be a must bet type of situation for me.
I hear you.
All right. Well, moving right along, man. Next fight up, we have got Chase Hooper, curly-headed fuck junior, taking on Ocho Steven Peterson. Now, some of you may recall Chase Hooper. What can I say about this kid, man? The sky is maybe the limit, but it's also maybe not. He was awarded his BJJ black belt. Congratulations to Chase Hooper. He's an incredible grappling specialist. He's got good submission attacks from all positions, but he's so physically outmatched, and he doesn't really have a wrestling game to pair with his jiu-jitsu. That's the problem. He's a pure jiu-jitsu player. At this point, he's extremely dangerous. We saw his come from behind win his last time out, got a submission deep in the third round. So you can never count him out, especially against competition that can maybe make a mistake or play into his hand. The one thing I will give Hooper credit for is that he's got a brick for a head, man. This kid is impossible. Well, not impossible. He hasn't fought the highest level of competition, so we'll put a pin in that. But so far, he's been very, very difficult to put away, even though he's taken some very, very clean shots. He's going to have a size advantage here, at least a height and reach advantage, a 4-inch reach advantage over Peterson. Peterson's training out of Fortis MMA. Everybody that watches this show knows I'm a Fortis MMA guy. I like their gym. I like their fighters, even though they've been on a bit of a rough patch a bit lately. He's got aggressive forward pressure, a long double jab that he likes to hit. He has a big overhand right that he tries to club people with, and he's more than willing to step into the pocket and trade. He's extremely hittable, and I've actually seen him fall to his back in striking exchanges more than once. He uses guillotines to defend takedowns, and Dan, that is something that is extremely concerning when you're going up against a kid like Chase Hooper. Now, Peterson does attack off of his back. That's a nice thing, and he does have a good stand-up game or a good get-up game. He's got 2 losses in the UFC by split decision, so there's potential that his record could look a decent bit better if he just had one judge kind of see things a little bit differently. This is another very close fight. Money coming in on Steven Peterson. He opened up minus 150. The initial money came in on Hooper, driving it to a pick'em, and now it's starting to head back the other way. You can get even money on Chase Hooper, Steven Peterson, about minus 120 at this point. For my money, man, I got to stay away because I fell into the trap of Chase Hooper. I absolutely thought that he was going to be able to just run through people on the ground. He was going to be the next big thing. I expected wrestling improvements out of him his last fight. And even in the Alex Caceres fight, when he decided he wanted to stand and bang with Alex Caceres, I was like, okay, we need to give this kid a little bit of time to mature in his MMA game before I can go back to him with any type of a bet. So I am still a believer in the future of Chase Hooper, and I'm still expecting improvements from him. Steven Peterson is exactly the kind of guy that I could see playing into Chase Hooper's game and giving him the opportunity to get that submission win. But as of today, Steven Peterson's the better fighter, man. I'm going to pass on this one, and I'm going to lean towards Chase Hooper having another come-from-behind type of submission victory when Ocho Peterson makes a mistake.
So I respectfully disagree about the sky being the limit for Chase Hooper. Maybe on the jiu-jitsu scene, but even then, I don't think so. And another thing, Steven Peterson's never been submitted in almost 30 pro fights. And he's been in there with some guys too. Now, for those in the comments, can someone pardon my ignorance? What belt in jiu-jitsu is Steven Peterson? I'm unaware, so someone please let me know. So here's the interesting thing, because we talk about Chase Hooper being this punching bag. Peterson's a punching bag too, and that's what Peterson's known for. Peterson's one of those guys. He's what we like to refer to as a junkyard dog. He's going to take all your hardest shots. He's going to keep coming forward, and most of the time he's going to lose a decision because he ate too many shots. The thing here is that Chase Hooper ain't out striking shit, and I have a hard time seeing, Chase Hooper getting this guy to the ground and really doing much with him. So despite how hittable Steven Peterson is, I actually think this is one of the first times I'm going to say it, that I think Peterson's got better striking technique than someone. He might even have better defense than Chase Hooper, and he's just farther along in his career than Chase Hooper. Dana White said it best. You can't just keep getting your ass whooped every fight and then pulling a sub out of your ass. Like, it's just how often and you're doing it against Peter Barrett. Like, no disrespect to Barrett, a tough Boston guy, but tough Boston guy for a regional scene fighter. UFC, not so much. I mean, Yusuf Zalal is out there spin kicking, dropping this guy, right? So, and Yusuf Zalal is a decision fighter. So what I'm trying to say is that I'm not sure Hooper's quite ready for this level yet. And it's one of those things where, look, Chase Hooper takes your back, starts to, get those hooks in, start to slip in a nice little Mata Leon rear naked choke. Okay. He's a long kid. He's got good jiu-jitsu. And even that fight prior to his UFC debut, the one where he fought, actually, he beat a guy that beat Sodiq Yusuff, Luis Gomez. Some of those sweeps on the mat, that shit was beautiful. It's just that now at the UFC level here, man, I just don't see him doing that to Steven Peterson. Maybe since he's just a kid, his striking has improved a little bit. He's the longer guy here. I assume he's got a reach advantage. Let me just double check that.
He's got no power.
He's got a 4-inch reach advantage. He was born in 1999. He was almost born in year 2000. He's literally a kid, but I just don't see him. I just don't see him being the guy that's going to tag up Peterson and win a decision, because that's how you beat Peterson. He's a walking punching bag. He's tough. He's going to give you a fight, but you're just going to outland him and win a decision. Chase Hooper ain't outlanding shit. So Chase Hooper needs to submit a guy that's never been submitted. Not saying it can't be done, because everyone that's been submitted in their career before, at one point they had 0 submission losses, then they got their first. So maybe it happens, but I'm going to say Steven Peterson comes out here and bruises the young kid up. And if Chase Hooper wants to come fight in the NFC, which is our regional scene here in the Southeast in Atlanta, Georgia, bringing out some top prospects, he wants to test some of our prospects out, even though he's just a kid, we'll be more than happy to have him. So I'm going to go with Steven Peterson, probably a unanimous decision.
Okay. All right. I definitely do not hate it. And like I said, man, that's not one that I am confident in whatsoever. That is not a fight that I'm planning on putting money on. Maybe I will do my classic Hail Mary parlay and have Chase Hooper by submission in there if the line is right. But outside of that, I'm not planning on putting much money on either of these guys. I do want to take a brief break in the action here. Those of you who watch the show know that I am a gambling degenerate, and on Mondays we've always got some hockey action going. We did hit the first period draw in the Islanders and Bruins game at plus 145. The Islanders just took the lead at 3-2. I'm on the Islanders money line at plus 155, and we had a goal score prop on my guy Josh Bailey at plus 325. So the live show luck is rolling tonight in the NHL. Let's keep this bad boy going. All right, man, I want to take just a real quick break here and talk about one of my sponsors. I'm going to go ahead and roll one of these commercials here for the fans, and we will be right back. If I can find the button, that is. All right, welcome back to the show. Thank you, everybody, for hanging out. We've got 184 live viewers right now on the Die Hard MMA podcast. This is Pub Sports Radio. I know I say it a lot. Do me a favor and hit that like button. That is how you let YouTube know that you enjoy the free content you're receiving here. And then we spread out to more viewers. It's going to allow us to keep this show and all the awesome content we give to you here at Pub Sports Radio absolutely for free. It's going to keep it coming to you. And James, respectfully, my guy, I gotta disagree. I think the Jets are getting swept. I was all over the Jets against the Oilers. I actually cashed in several tickets with them, but the only thing they've been rolling in is their own feces. So I don't think they're gonna stand much of a chance tonight after getting just outclassed last night. On a back-to-back, I've got a bad feeling that they can't do much of anything against the Montreal Canadiens and their heavy defensive style, man. Price is just doing the damn thing right now. He's standing on his head, not letting a single puck in. The dude is something else. So real quick, I do want to shout out my other sponsor. You all know them already, Goat Capital Sports. You come to me for maybe a little bit of degenerate NHL, maybe a little bit degenerate football when it comes around to NFL season, and of course, mixed martial arts. But if you need some action in any of the other sports and you don't have the time to watch the breakdown videos, you don't have the time to follow and listen to all the great handicappers we've got here for you at Pub, you just need someone to send you a ticket, let you know who to bet on, where you can get your money's worth. Check out Goat Capital Sports _ on Twitter. Let them know Clint sent you. They have very graciously priced packages, and they're on a bit of a heater. They also have a refund policy that if you lose after a week of their picks, you get your money back, which will basically, honestly, no, who does that? Like, if you go through the week, their picks don't pay off, you get your cash back for having to pony up and pay for those picks. It's a really good deal. They're really good people, and they will take care of you in all the other sports. Baseball, basketball, every once in a while they throw soccer picks out there, curling championships, whatever you may need. Goat Capital Sports has got you covered. Now, with that having been said, we can continue our breakdown of UFC 263. Next fight up, we have got Frank Camacho taking on Matt the Steamroller Frevola. And I am joined once again by my illustrious guest, Dan from Half the Battle at Best Fight Picks on Twitter. Make sure you give him a follow. Let him know you appreciate you coming on the show with me tonight. Frank Camacho, 22-9. Matt Frevola, 8-2. And man, Frank, what can I say? I'm a huge fan of Frank Camacho. He's another one of these Walt Harris types for me. He's just such a good person, a friendly dude, brings good energy to the game. I like everything about Frank Camacho, but I'm a little concerned about him when it comes to fighting these days. He's got a pressure style. He walks his opponents down. He constantly stuffs his jab out there in their face. High volume striker. He averages 6.67 significant strikes per minute. The only problem is he absorbs 7.31 significant strikes per minute. So he's in your face constantly and finds a way to get hit more often than he hits you. He does have a nice low stance, especially when he's facing off against grapplers, which we know Frevola is. And he strikes well moving backwards. He's got fast hands. He's got a nasty uppercut, which will deter that double leg. He likes to mix in combos and finish off with big body kicks. But, man, he's got that tall man defense. He just leans back and doesn't do shit with his hands. And I've also seen him give up his back anytime he takes an opportunity to stand and get back up to his feet. These are issues that I think are going to be a problem against Matt Frevola. Frank Camacho has been knocked out 5 times in his professional career, and he's no spring chicken in the game anymore. Matt Frevola, on the other hand, this guy is coming out of the Cerro Longo MMA factory, and he is a wrestling machine. Constant forward pressure, which is going to be interesting. Both these guys like to step forward. Who's going to take that first step backward? My money would be on Frank. I think Matt Frevola is going to pressure him, move forward. His striking is getting better every time we see him, and he wings big bombs. He's one of these guys that uses that striking to close the distance, and then he's pure aggro on the takedowns, man. Once he gets in on your hips, he's like a rabid dog. He doesn't let up. He averages 2.73 significant strikes per minute, but he also tends to get outlanded by his opponents, absorbing 3.44. The big thing for me, though, is he spams 2.59 takedowns per 15 minutes with a 37% accuracy. I think he's going to be all over Frank Camacho, and then I think Frank's going to get the opportunity to get back to his feet, and one of those big overhand shots is just going to clip that chin and put him down, man. I think that Frevola is the future. Frank Camacho, unfortunately, is a lamb to slaughter here. Got the old name lifting up the young up-and-coming hot prospect for the UFC. I got to side with the young kid Frevola, and right now you can get him at minus 200. I think that's a fair price. I'm tempted to lay the chalk with Matt Frevola. I'm also tempted on taking that knockout prop with Matt Frevola. Dan, talk to me, buddy. How do you see this fight playing out?
I mean, listen, Frevola is a guy that's been making such big improvements every single fight. I mean, you watch his debut against Polo Reyes, and you see, you know, he's just swinging like a bar brawler. You're like, oh, this kid's not going to have a long career in the UFC. But, I mean, firstly, he's tough as hell. You watch that next fight against Lando Venata, and to get dropped by a head kick, he got dropped by something else in that fight too. And to come back and get it to a draw, you know, against the guy that was already much more experienced than him, that's admirable. That's admirable. But then he comes back in Atlanta, Georgia. I was in attendance when he fought Jalen Turner. And a lot of people were betting Jalen Turner that fight. And, I mean, he took it to Jalen Turner, man. I mean, when he got on top of Jalen wasn't getting back up. And then you parlay that with the Pannie fight, which was a tough fight. He had to overcome adversity again. It's just that the guy's a dog. The guy's willing to go forward. The guy's willing to eat whatever you throw at him. And if he's still conscious, he's just going to put that kind of pace on you that it's going to wear you out. But then you talk about a guy like Frank Camacho, who already historically has gassing issues. And all I got to say is Frank Camacho doesn't get this first round knockout, and Frank Camacho's in deep shit, literally, because you go back and you watch some of these Frank Camacho fights, even from the regional scene, like, for example, the Kasuya fight. That's my favorite one. Dude, he's throwing concussive blows at Kasuya. He's going out there like a killer. One back take, and then it's over, and he gets choked out. And all the great work he put in just goes right out the window. So Camacho, now he's at that point in his career where he's getting stopped by guys that don't even belong in the UFC. No disrespect to Justin James. That's just my personal opinion. And also, yeah, Jeff Neal, he was completely outmatched, but look at the damage he took in that fight, man. Because if you look at it, he was competitive with a guy like Drew Dober, but there's been a significant drop-off. Now guys are just running through him. And I'm not saying it's going to be a first-round finish for Frevola, but Frevola is the grinder here. Frevola is the guy that, you know, if it's 1-1 going into that third round, I know I can count on Frevola to get that last takedown and seal the deal. And knowing the history of Camacho with gassing out, just seems like a really bad matchup. And to take it a step further, I think Frevola's hands and his striking defense and everything is improving. Actually, if you watch that last fight with Arman Sarukian, I know all we talk about is the takedowns. There was a moment there where Frevola wobbled Sarukian. I remember that very specifically. So
he's got power.
Yeah, I mean, look, the kid's tenacious. He's hungry. He's determined. And I think that Saturday night, in, I was about to say Las Vegas, Nevada. Is it Glendale, Arizona?
It is Glendale, Arizona.
In Glendale, Arizona, I think that he's going to put a pace on Frank Camacho that breaks him. Most likely, kind of a lopsided decision, but based on where both their careers are trending, don't be surprised if you see Frevola come out here and possibly get a finish.
I like that we line up on that one, man. Something I've been doing lately is earning my nickname of the Hammer, and I've been not afraid to lay the chalk on some of these big spots, adding a wrinkle to my sports betting game. And this may be a spot that I sack up and I go ahead and lay that 2-1. That I think that Frevola's got all the opportunity. I think he's got all the upside. And yeah, maybe he could get caught in the first round, but you know what? We've seen him eat some big shots and then just power through. He's one of these guys that will shift gears, dig deep, bite down on his mouthpiece, and not go down. So unless he gets hit incredibly clean and has like a one-hitter-quitter type of situation on him, I don't think Frevola's going down, and he will just wear on Camacho, who we've seen get tired, like you mentioned before. That gas tank is a big, big question mark. I think all team Frevola here, man.
Hey, don't be surprised if he cracks Camacho. That's all I got to say. Because like I said, I've been seeing guys that don't belong in the UFC putting him out in under a minute. So don't be surprised.
I had the same read, man. And let's take a look here. Frevola by knockout is currently plus 500. So I guarantee that'll make my sprinkle. That'll make one of my half unit shots here by Saturday. I will be on that.
Look, I'm old school, so I would just take him straight because he is more of a decision guy. But for all you prop bettors out there, y'all feeling frisky, I don't think it's the worst play.
There you go. My guy Locker Room in the chat. What's up, buddy? Thank you for joining the show, jumping on tonight. I saw Boston Nick MMA earlier too, so thank you, buddy. Shout out to you as well.
Appreciate it, buddy.
All right. Here we go, moving right along. We are on, unless I'm mistaken, the final fight of the preliminary card. Pannie Kianzad taking on Alexis Davis. Women MMA taking center stage here on Saturday. And this is another fight that I'm having a little bit of a tough time with the line, Dan. I'll just be open and honest and say it right out front here for you. Women's bantamweight fight. Pannie Kianzad is a fighter who I kind of expect big things from. She's young. She's got all the tools that I think someone who could be successful in the UFC is going to need, and she is showing massive improvements from fight to fight. She's got good technical boxing, high output. She's aggressive off her back. She's always hunting submissions if she does get taken down, and she's got a great gas tank. She's got 83% takedown defense. I talked about this last time I broke her fight down. Maybe a little bit fraudulent with that number because she hasn't fought the best level of competition, but you can only ask a fighter to fight who the UFC puts in front of them. She's done her job so far with that. She averages 5.14 significant strikes per minute. She's been outlanding her opponents at a decent clip here, absorbing only 3.62 significant strikes per minute. Alexis Davis, on the other hand, is one of these almost kind of a hidden gem, man. She has fought really solid competition in the UFC, and she's lost to them, and that makes perfect sense. And as soon as she gets one little step down in competition, she shows the world just how good she really is. Snapped a 3-fight losing streak, her last fight out as a big underdog. And here she is, a plus 180 underdog yet again. She derailed Sabina Mazo. And you know what? She spams leg kicks. She's got big, heavy, hard leg kicks. She's aggressive. She comes forward, and she's always striking in combinations, man. 4 or 5 punch combos. And she's actually got a really good grappling game. She knows when to change levels. She's got a heavy top game, and she also looks to hunt for submissions. She takes the backs of her opponents. I mean, she's got a well-rounded skill set. Davis is everything that you would look for. The only question is, she's a little bit older. Now, she's only 36, so it's not like she's ancient. We're not knocking on the door of 40 or anything like that yet. But she is older than her opponent, who we would expect to make more improvements as a younger fighter up and coming. The question is, because we've had one good showing, one really solid fight from Pannie Kianzad, does she deserve to be this big of a favorite over a savvy, technical veteran like Alexis Davis? How do you feel about this one, man?
Well, I mean, that's the big question right now. Real quick, everybody watching, close Wikipedia, close Tapology, and let me ask you a little bit of trivia. Yes or no? If I were to tell you right now that Alexis Davis and Amanda Nunes got into a fight before and Alexis Davis won by TKO, would you believe me or not?
No. I'll answer
Okay.
for the chat.
Well, let me tell y'all something. Alexis Davis TKO'd Amanda Nunes a decade ago. Now I know that doesn't mean shit now, but just a little MMA history or trivia, however y'all want to put it. This chick TKO'd Amanda Nunes back in the day. Pretty fucking impressive, right? And made it to a title shot with Ronda Rousey. I got stopped in 16 seconds, but still made it there. So she's badass. But listen, you know, I do think that not necessarily a passing of the torch, but I just think that Pannie Kianzad right now is operating on a different level, man. I like the volume with the strikes. I like the improvements in her confidence. You know, she took a hard loss, I believe, to Xiaozong. And since that point, I truly believe that she's rebounded quite nicely, to be honest with you, man. I mean, you start looking at some of these numbers, and after, she also lost to Avila, who's also, you know, a good prospect in that division. But since that point, against Jessica Rose Clark, lands near 100 strikes. Against Betchy Correa, another former title challenger and you know, one of my personal favorites, landed over 100 strikes there. In her fight against Sajara Eubanks, where I believe she was an underdog, I believe she was severely counted out, she, you know, got back up from the takedowns and she landed nearly 100 strikes there too. So we're seeing someone with high output and someone that's able to overcome these bad spots. I mean, Sajara is a black belt as well, same like Alexis. Whereas you look at that last fight, and I know a lot of people got burnt on Sabina Mazo, but I think Sabina Mazo is just a little kid. I think that, with all due respect, she's like 21, 22, 23. That's what I mean by that.
She's another growing fighter, though. I get what you mean. She's
green. She just simply wasn't ready for that. Whereas Pannie, I think, has kind of paid her dues to where she might be ready to come out here and pass this test. And I do think that the volume on the feet is going to be a big difference. It's just about, you know, don't get into these precarious spots on the mat with such a grizzled vet in Alexis Davis. That's what we got to avoid. And you avoid that and you win the fight. So I'll go with Pannie Kianzad via unanimous decision.
Okay. I don't hate the call, and I think you'll get a much better line if you go with the decision prop because man, I don't know if she's got the capability of finishing someone as tough as Alexis Davis. But I'll be honest, I'm a little bit tempted dog or pass here in this spot just because I think Davis knows how to change levels. You know what I mean? And when she seals those rounds off with takedowns, the UFC judges haven't really been scoring for the fighters laying on their opponents and things like that, but she stays active from the top position, and we have seen Pannie work off of her back, try to go for submissions, and that greenness, that young fighter mentality, every once in a while they get a little overconfident, and if she ends up on her back one too many times in this fight, I could see it slip away. This is another spot where I feel like it could go to a split decision, and if I'm going to bet it, I would want that plus money. So it's a dog or pass spot for me.
I feel you. Good luck, man. I mean, look, she did it her last fight, exact same line, but different matchup in my opinion. And
big time different matchup.
We'll see.
I don't know that I'm actually betting that one. That's going to be my prediction, my pick. I'm going to go ahead and side with the dog. Whether or not I decide I feel like there's enough value there for me to risk it and roll the dice. There's so many good spots on this card. I don't know if I need to force a bet on a closely lined women's MMA fight.
Yeah, I don't blame you.
All right, man. Moving the show straight along. Like I mentioned before, we are now on the main card of this bad boy. And what a way. Oh, no. We're not on the main card. I'm sorry. We've got early prelims and then prelims because this card is freaking stacked. So what we've got coming up next is a banger. And Movsar Evloev taking on mean Hakeem Dawodu. And this is a fight, again, between two guys that I just love. I can't wait to watch this one go down because these guys are both so good everywhere, in my opinion. Movsar Evloev is still undefeated in the UFC, 14-0. I felt he was a little undersized for featherweight, but he's kind of bulked out. He's filled into that frame a little bit. Hakeem Dawodu is 12-1. And Movsar Evloev is just the most flow state grappler I think I may have ever seen, man. Like, he is incredible when it comes to chaining his takedowns up. I mean, obviously no one can compare to the great Khabib, but he kind of reminds me in shades a little bit of him, the way he just forces you to always respect that grappling and that constant threat of the takedown with somebody that's this high level and can hit that second, third, and fourth attempt. You can't just pop your hips against this guy. He's going to switch. He's going to hit the corner. He's going to trip. He's going to do everything until he finally gets you to the mat. And if he fails all that, he's just going to press you up against the fence. The one time we've seen Movsar Evloev have trouble in the grappling department he showed off his striking, and he showed us just how damn good he is on the feet. And that shocked me. I didn't think he was that good on the feet, but he's a very technical striker. And I love everything I see from this kid. The big thing that stands out to me is his crisp, clean jab. He knows how to keep that distance, maintain range, and pop his opponents in the face. Now, me and Hakeem, we got to give this guy his moment in the spotlight as well. He throws absolutely everything with bad intentions. He is a nasty, high-level striker. He's always coming for blood, always coming after his opponent. He's got 85% takedown defense. So far in his UFC career, he's been almost impossible to get on the floor. He's got a 1-inch height, a 1-inch reach advantage here in this spot, and he averages 5.15 significant strikes per minute, absorbing only 2.31. So he has greatly outclassed his opponents on the feet when he is striking in the significant category there. The problem here again is the line, man. Movsar Evloev is minus 240, come back on the underdog plus 200. And in the betting community on Twitter, I'm seeing a lot of love for Hakeem Dawodu. He's a big public dog, in my opinion, here in this spot. And honestly, I'm kind of leaning towards the Evloev side here. I think the threat of the takedown is going to slow down the striking of one Hakeem Dawodu, because if you throw that many strikes out there, if you have that kind of a pace, you're going to end up on your ass. He's going to find that out early. And then once the grappling starts, I just don't know if he's going to have much of an answer, because, yeah, maybe he'll get to the fence and maybe he'll work his way back up to the feet. But then he's going to end up right back on the floor again. And you do that 2, 3, 4 times, it's going to slow him down. It's going to fill his muscles up with blood. He's going to have a hard time throwing the knockout bomb that he's going to need to land. And we've never seen Evloev beaten, much less knocked out. We have, on the flip side of this thing, seen Hakeem Dawodu rocked and wobbled multiple times. And with that striking that Evloev shows off, man, I wouldn't be surprised if he finds a way to land on the button. Some kind of a ground and pound TKO is totally in the ballpark, in my opinion. Obviously, I think the decision is far more likely to happen because that's the kind of fighter he is. He's a grinder first. But if he rocks Dawodu at any point in time in this fight, I could see him swarming and finishing it. I'm favored or pass on this one, but I also don't want to disrespect Hakeem Dawodu, and I'm not sure that I'm looking to parlay a guy like Evloev. Maybe I got to kind of think about it, but minus 240, minus 250, fair price tag. I like the favorite. Not sure I'm pulling the trigger and actually betting it. How do you have this one playing out?
I don't know. This is tough, man, because firstly, the price, right? Like if it's, a pick 'em or even minus 150 Evloev to minus 175 Evloev, then I think that's probably the side. But Hakeem has been making improvements, man. I did cash on him his last fight against Zubaira. I just have a lot of questions about what happens if he gets taken down. Is he popping back up? Is he getting held down? Because these last few fights, a couple of guys have been able to land takedowns. None of them have been able to hold him down, but none of them are also on the level of Movsar Evloev. So exactly. That's where. Now, I know back in the World Series of Fighting, people were able to hold down Hakeem Dawodu. But that was fucking how long ago? That's back when Marlon Moraes was like considered to be one like a top 3 bantamweight, right? Like people were saying, "Oh, this guy's gonna come into the UFC and be a world champion," and that never happened. But so I don't know, man. Like because you give. I mean, listen, we talk about the African athletes. I know he's from Canada, but he walks out with a Nigerian flag. So I mean, he's got that Nigerian blood in him, and that. Africans are different, man. Kamaru Usman, Israel Adesanya, Francis Ngannou, Razak before the shit went down with him. Like these guys are, it's just that they bring something completely different that you can't really plan for based off technique. They can override technique with their power, with their athleticism. And when I talk about power and athleticism, I'm not at all one bit discrediting their skills or their work ethic or how they are as martial artists, because they're fantastic. But I do think that having that little extra horsepower goes a long way. Sodiq Yusuff, another example, right? So this is tough because the line is plus 220, right? The line is not plus 150 or something like that. The line is plus 220, and I've bet on both these guys. Like I said, I bet Hakeem against Zuba, and it was in Abu Dhabi. Got the win there. And then I bet on Evloev against Nick Lentz, and that's nothing to brag about. He was a big favorite, but I thought it was easy money. It was a split decision. So
Nick Lynch showed up that night, man. No, I did not see that coming, by the way. I got to just tangent there for a second. That was nuts.
Nick Lynch shows up every fight. It's just that, he's, towards the end of his career, he's a little bit on the slower side, but the dog has always been in Nick Lynch like that.
Absolutely.
I got so much respect for that guy, but so I don't know, man. This is tough. This is tough. Because on one hand, it's like, do we really? Because we've actually called Evloev Little Khabib on Half the Battle before. Like we hold him in high regard, no questions asked, Clint. So if if you feel about him the way I feel about one of these guys we're going to talk about later, named Jamahal Hill, where it's like I don't give a fuck who the opponent is. I think this guy's going all the way to the top. Then screw what anyone says and take him. I know he's talented. I know he's skilled. I know he's that guy. I just need to see a little bit more against higher level competition before I'm quite ready to take that, that plunge, because, at one point people were saying this guy's a bantamweight. Now you're competing at featherweight. Size will matter as you start to move up the rankings. And Hakeem Dawodu, one thing about him, man, we know his striking's on point, but the dude's physical too. And I think he does have a good get-up game to at least make this fight close. So it might be a dog or pass situation, but in me saying that, in the back of my head, I'm always thinking like, this kid Evloev could possibly dominate him. Like Evloev does have those kind of skills. And also, not only does he have the skills, Clint, he's got the heart. You watch that fight with Evloev and Grundy, or as we like to say in the UK, Grundy. He was caught in that big Darce choke. And lots of guys would either went to sleep or tapped out, and there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. This guy created the little tiniest bit of space, pushed off the hips and got out, and then dominated the fight. Like those little signs are signs of someone that could be a champion. I'm not saying he's going to be a champion, but those are the kind of things that champions do. So as a pure pick, I agree with Evloev. It's just that you see a plus 220 on a guy like Hakeem Dawodu. You see the kind of run he's on. You see the improvements he's been making. And you know that Evloev has actually been fighting kind of close with these guys. That makes me kind of, from a betting perspective, lean with the dog. So this is, I know I'm, giving the argument for both sides, and it's a tough one to pick. But if I were to bet it, I'd take Hakeem. But I can't talk you off of Evloev, because if he truly is that special talent that's gonna, make it all the way to the top, then I would ride that train till the wheels fall off, right? I just think that this fight has potential to be close. So I think dog or pass for me.
I can absolutely understand that, man. I can get that. And now, in fairness, I do just want to say that I think the judge that scored that fight for Nick Lentz is out of his damn mind. In my opinion, I agree. That was a fight that was close but clear. Those are rare in MMA these days. Nick Lentz showed up. You can give him a round, but giving him 2 rounds I thought was crazy, especially at the end of the fight when his face was bloodied up and completely destroyed from Movsar Evloev. So, yeah, he has been fighting close, but I know exactly what you're saying, and I think size is eventually going to be a problem for him. I think that's absolute fact. Hakeem is not that much bigger than him, which is kind of where I think he can still put that grappling to use over the course of a 15-minute fight, but we know the judges have been scoring the striking more than the grappling unless you can actually do something with it. So if he can't control Hakeem, if he can't keep him on the mat, then he's going to have a problem. And don't forget, folks, big numbered pay-per-view UFC. We're back in an arena. We're in the big cage. This is not the Apex. We're not looking for, a small show. It's definitely going to favor the strikers in this spot. So Evloev may be much more live here, and that's where, like I said, my problem with this fight is absolutely the line. I want to take Movsar Evloev. He's going to be my pick to go ahead and win this thing, but I don't think I'm necessarily going to be betting him, and I may not parlay him or anything like that, because I think you're right. I think the value is probably on Hakeem Dawodu, and I expect this one to be hairy, but I think Movsar is probably going to get his hand raised at the end of it. So what we are going to roll on to now is the next fight up, one that I'm very interested to hear your take in, Dan. We've got Lauren Murphy, Lucky, taking on Joanne, Jojo Calderwood. This is one of the few bets I have already made on this card. And man, I am a fan of both of these women. I feel like Lucky Lauren Murphy has been underrated her entire career. Her physicality, the strength that she brings into the cage with her is something that a lot of people underrate and don't quite get. She's got crazy power for women's MMA, especially at this division here. I like Lauren Murphy, but at the end of the day, she's a meat and potatoes type of fighter. If she can't use that physicality to control you, she just ends up getting outclassed. Now, she has been calling for her opportunity at a title shot. She's 37 years old. She's got a nice little win streak going here together. I totally understand. She needs to make it count. She needs to make it count now. Her last run is a 4-fight win streak over Mara Romero Barilla, Andrea KGB Lee, Roxanne Modafferi, and then the newcomer Lilia Shakirova, where she submitted her in the second round super quick. So she's been looking very impressive lately. But one thing we need to remember, and I didn't remember this myself until just when I was going through my research again here, is that she lost that fight with Andrea Lee, man. That's the one where the judge was texting in the middle of her fight. I had a bet on Andrea Lee that night, and I remember Joe Rogan calling the douchebag out for not even watching the fight. In my opinion, one of the worst robberies we've ever seen. And Andrea Lee deserved the win that night. So I think that would have snapped the skid. I think that would have snapped the momentum. Lilia Shakirova is a short notice fill-in COVID-style replacement. So that's not a fight we can really put too much stock in. And as much as I love Roxanne Modafferi, she is not championship contender level these days. She's on the down streak. She's getting older. She wobbled in almost every one of her last 3 or 4 fights these days. The chin is starting to give out. So I like Lauren Murphy, but I think there's a little bit of overrating recency bias going on here. Jojo Calderwood on the flip side of this thing, a heavy volume striker. She's got some nasty Muay Thai, constantly sticks in the face of her opponents, and she's a bit of a decision machine, but she's been fighting the higher level of competition. She fought Jennifer Maia, Caitlin Chukagian, and Jessica Ai in her last 4 fights. She also fought Andrea Lee and won a real split decision, an actual, properly judged split decision, in my opinion. And she may have a problem with the submissions. And that's one of the big things I've been hearing from a lot of people is 3 submission losses. That's the path for Lauren Murphy. Man, Lauren Murphy doesn't submit anybody. She's a TKO monster. She's got 1 submission on her UFC record. I'm not expecting her to suddenly come out and try and armbar this chick. Let's not forget the fight that Joanne Calderwood lost was a number 1 contender spot with Jennifer Maia, and she got armbarred by a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt, a high-level Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt, I might add. I don't expect Murphy to be able to pull off that kind of a maneuver. When this thing is striking, I think Calderwood's going to have a significant advantage. She's going to see the striking from Lauren Murphy coming because she's slower, man. JoJo's going to have a speed advantage. She'll be able to stay on the outside, stay safe, out-volume Lauren Murphy, and she hasn't wobbled or given up yet in the knockout area. She's not been TKO'd or KO'd in her entire career, so I don't expect that Lauren Murphy is going to be the first one to finally crack her chin. And as long as she can get back up to her feet and not let Lauren Murphy control her, she should get a pretty clear decision, in my opinion, on the judges' scorecards. I got her at -140. I'm kicking myself. I didn't research this one a little bit earlier because she opened to pick them, and I should have bet -110, man. How do you feel about this fight?
So, look, on paper, everything you said is correct. I do think that Joanne's got the far superior skills. I love her volume. And she's one of these hot and cold fighters. When she's on, man, I mean, I think she looks like one of the best fighters on planet Earth. And I think she's just as talented as anybody in that weight class. I mean, besides Valentina. So I do think that Joanne, she brings a lot to the table. It's just that sometimes mentally she doesn't quite show up as much as you want her to. Like sometimes she's going to give up these bad positions. And I never thought these words would come out of my mouth that Lauren Murphy is a top 5 fighter in the UFC. Because I don't know if you recall how Lauren Murphy was a couple of years back. Like, she had a losing record in the UFC. She had like a really bad attitude on The Ultimate Fighter. But she changed something. Her mindset changed. She's positive now. She's coming out here winning these fights against the people you're supposed to beat, and she's pushing that pace. Here's my thing. Like, again, I do think that Joanne, is the better fighter. It's just that sometimes you'll have these head-scratching performances by Joanne, like the Maia fight, for example. the Marina Moroz fight. There's been so many fights that I can point to. I was going to say Jessica, but she whooped Jessica, so that's not one of them. Yeah, there's been a few along the way where I've just been like, you know, which Joanne are we seeing? Because, like, dude, when she's on her game, those front kicks to the face, the knees, the striking arsenal, the volume, the output, and I've seen her submit people off her back before too. So I think that she's got the complete package. It's just all about what's going on upstairs mentally. Because I know right now, Lauren Murphy's in the best spot of her career, and Lauren Murphy ain't playing games right now. So it's like one of these fights where it's like, do you favor the skill of Joanne Calderwood, or do you favor the will of Lauren Murphy? So I don't know, man. Look, I wish you luck with your bet because I ain't gonna bet this fight, but I kind of want to take the dog here and go with Lauren Murphy. But yeah, it's one of those things where I don't know. It could go either way. I'm gonna go Murphy. You go Calderwood. I wish you the best in your bet. But yeah, let's see what happens. And if you want, maybe we can skip this next fight for the time being. We might have a special guest for them.
You know, man, we actually finished breaking that one down already. So the next fight we're talking about is one I'm super excited for. We've got your boy Eryk Anders taking on the dentist Darren Stewart. And huge shout out to our guy Dan here, because we in fact do have a special guest here on the show this evening. Welcome to the chat, Eryk, your boy Anders. What is up, dude? How you doing today?
Hey, what's going on, fellas?
Not a whole lot, man. Breaking down some fights, talking about some sports betting, and you know, my guy Dan hooked us up. We got you on the show. And people may recall my now infamous TikTok about the fact that you'll never be the underdog to Darren Stewart ever again.
Yeah, no. Yeah. Dan's a homie, man. I've known Dan for a minute, so yeah. And man, it's awesome TikTok too, man. Thank you for making that. It's funny.
Hey, I appreciate it anytime, man. I'm a big fan. I have been for a long time. And, you know, I got to be honest. We talk sports betting here on the show, man. So we're looking for angles. And that last time, the line just made no sense. The fact that you were the underdog to this man, it made no sense to me. And I shouted out from the mountaintops that you were the right side. And I had a big plus 160 ticket in my pocket. And unfortunately, we all know how the fight ended. That was a bummer for everybody. And lo and behold, now you're a minus 145 favorite, so they all wisened up after seeing the first one.
Yeah, sorry I put money up the first time, man. But, you know, I messed a lot of people's money up. But at least she didn't lose any money, though. It's not like I, you know, took an L or nothing. So at least your money was refunded, right? Unless it was on parlay.
It was a push, man. No sweat whatsoever. And hey, here on the show, we respect every single fighter that steps in that cage. So you shouldn't be thinking about the bettors holding tickets when you're in there, man. You just do your thing. And I want to ask you real quick, how's life been at Fight Ready? You're still hanging out there for the second camp, right?
Yeah, it's awesome. You know, just building on the, building on what I was building on from the last fight, just growing, progressing, and man, I think if you
Yo, I think you're muted, brother. We missed that last part you said.
Am I back?
Yep,
you're back.
Yep, he's gone again.
Okay, almost back. Oh no, what happened? We heard you loud and clear a second ago.
I was gonna say kick him out, jump him out, and jump him right back in. Everyone sit tight. 1 second. We're gonna try and get your boy back on the show here. I'm excited, man. This is freaking cool having Eryk Anders jump on the show.
Yeah, you like that? It's pretty
Hell
cool,
yeah,
right?
man. All right, there we go. We got him back. Can you hear us?
Yeah. Sorry. I don't know what happens every time I get a phone call. Like it never works after that. So whatever. I'm back now. Yeah. You know, I just continuing to grow on what I've. You know, if you look at my Jocko to the first Darren Stewart fight, you know, there's no denying the amount of progress that I've made in my skill level. So, man, just building and continuing to grow off that.
Absolutely, man. It was a night and day difference. Go ahead, Dan. What were you going to say?
Eryk, so here's the thing, man. Obviously, we've talked about this privately, but for the fans, so something happens to these fighters that fight ready. Like, for example, you look at a guy like Henry Cejudo. He was always an A1 athlete. He goes to fight ready. He becomes a champ. You look at a guy like Patricio Pitbull, always a fantastic athlete, goes to fight ready, becomes a champ. You go to fight ready. You've always been a D1 athlete. You go to fight ready. All of a sudden, you're knocking out Darren Stewart in the first round. I don't give a shit what anyone said. You and Darren Stewart got into a fight. You knocked him out in the first round, despite what the results said. So what is it about them that's able to kind of just elevate y'all to that next level where you guys were already superior athletes, but now like there's something different about it. Like you look physically different, and you've already looked great all your fights. Like, so what's the secret sauce here, man?
Man, I think periodization. It's the first time in my career where I've had a strength and conditioning coach, like Coach Chad Ike. He's been all around. He coaches the Olympic Training Center. He's coached, NFL players, MLB players, hockey, football, you name it, he's done it. So he really knows what he's doing. And I've never done these kind of workouts before, ever. And, Eddie Chan, Santino DeFranco, it's I drilled so much that everything was second nature. Everything that happened in that fight, I had drilled over and over and over and over and over and over again. And as far as the striking goes, man, I've always just kind of been a brawler who just kind of moves forward, take one to give one kind of thing. But Eddie Charles, he's made me understand range and distance and timing and stuff. So, I can play from further back and still be an effective striker. So it's it's a whole total package there.
And then the other thing I was curious about is because, look, you had a fantastic, despite the no contest, you had a fantastic showing, but every fight's different, right? Like, we can't just bank on one punch, him going down. Like, your mindset wise, you're feeling like, hey, this is going to be a 3-round war. If we catch him, we catch him. But you're ready for a brand new fight, regardless of what happened last time.
Yeah, I think especially fighting at 205, I think Darren will be a little bit more durable than he was the first time. So, prepare for 3 rounds at whatever pace, high pace, low pace, medium pace. But I don't see this fight going 3 rounds though.
I'm glad you touched on that, man. I was going to ask you. I know it's probably something you're going to hear a lot this week, but with the fight being at 205 versus being at 185, you're already the bigger guy. I know you used to fight at 205. You've had some experience there. Where do you feel like that gives you an edge in this particular match?
I'll be more durable as well. I won't, cardio and things like that won't be in the back of my mind. I punch way. It's not night and day, but it's a very noticeable difference. My punching power at 205 than at 85. And I know that he thinks that he'll be the faster guy, but I think he's going to give up some speed at our weight class. So, I think I'll be able to bridge that gap a little bit easier.
Hell yeah, man. I love it. Well, I mentioned on the show already the TikTok I made there for you, man. What people may not know, though, is that I've already agreed that drinks are on me if you cash the ticket for us on Saturday. So, I'm going to have a bet on. I'm going to have a bet on for you, and I will absolutely own up to that. I'm a Arizona boy here myself, so hopefully we'll have something to cheers over by the time this thing is over on Saturday.
You're right here? You're right here?
Yeah. I'm stationed here in Arizona, man. So I'm in Phoenix, and would love to hold true to that and actually buy you a beer when you get your hand raised.
Hey, man, we'll be at the Golden Margarita after the fight. But after our fight, I plan on going to the arena and sitting down and watching the fight. So if you see me, I'm not picky on my beer, so it's whatever. But if I don't see you in the arena, make your way over to the Golden Margarita.
There you go. That's what's up. Thank you very much, my friend. Dan, was there anything else you wanted to ask our guy before we cut him loose?
Nah, Eryk, you're the man. Appreciate you stepping up on literally 5 minutes notice. We go way back since before you were in the UFC, and anytime you're in Atlanta, hit me up anytime, brother. Good to talk to you as always.
Hey, appreciate it, brother.
Thanks for coming on the podcast, Eryk. Appreciate you, man. Good luck on Saturday.
Y'all have a good one. Yep.
Hell yeah. There you guys go. How'd you like that? Let me hear it in the chat. We got to give a huge shout out to our guy Dan for setting that up for us, getting a chance to talk to Eryk Anders. And man, I got to tell you, I am still salty about the fact that I don't get to cash that ticket because I had a 2-unit play on Eryk Anders at plus 160 the last time out, man. I knew that once he had gone to Fight Ready, that's my camp. That is my camp. I love Fight Ready, and I love what they do to people. Kind of like you mentioned, Dan, they just turn people into absolute monsters, the best versions of themselves. So I knew Eryk Anders was going to come out looking like a whole new version of himself, and I still expect him to be able to get the win. The only thing I'm struggling with in this one is the fact that the line has changed so significantly. I had plus 160 in my pocket before. It's minus 145 now. And from the sports betting perspective, that just feels icky to have to make the same exact bet at a much, much worse line. But I'm a man of my word, and I can't be showing up empty-handed if Eryk Anders gets his hand raised on Saturday. So I am going to have to put my money where my mouth is. I will be having a bet on Eryk Anders, and that way I can pay for that man's beer when he gets us a win on Saturday. How do you see this fight playing out, Dan?
Yeah, I mean, listen, you guys got to understand, I'm super biased towards Eryk Anders. I mean, as you could see, me and him go way back since before he was in the UFC. And he's just a great person. I mean, when he was in Atlanta, I met his wife and his kids. You know what I mean. So I'm super biased towards him, but I got a lot of respect for Darren Stewart too. I think that, similar to someone else that we called a hot and cold fighter like Joanne Calderwood, I think Darren Stewart kind of fits that bill as well. I think that sometimes he's going to come out here and surprise you. I think he hits very hard. He's got dangerous elbows. That guillotine choke he hit on Maki Pitolo, and I think that it's one of those things where it's hard to cap. I hate talking about which version of a fighter is going to show up because I truly believe that discredits the opponent. But with Darren Stewart, I mean, his record indicates you don't know which guy's going to show up. I mean, sometimes he's going to go out there against Kevin Holland and go to a split decision. And for those in the chat, don't shit on Kevin Holland just because he lost to 2 top 10 guys. Kevin Holland is still a very talented guy, and we know Darren Stewart's not a top 10 guy, and Kevin Holland is a ranked guy. So the fact that Darren Stewart went to a split with him, sometimes he's going to rise to the occasion. Other times he was a favorite against Anders. I don't care what the result said. He got knocked out in the first round. So listen, every single fight is different. So do I think that Eryk is just going to come out here and steamroll him this time? I mean, maybe not. I mean, every fight is different, man. Like, for example, Anthony Showtime Pettis versus Benson Henderson. First time 5-round war, second time first round finish. So maybe this is a 3-round war. It's just going to be a different fight. But at the end of the day, I got to go with your boy, Eryk Anders. I think that the work at Fight Ready, they changed lives. And I think he's going to come out here a little bit more focused than last time, not make that same mistake. And I think when he hurts him, this time he's going to put him away. So I got to go with Eryk, your boy, Anders.
I completely agree, man. And the one thing I do want to ask you is, how badly do you think Darren Stewart was hurt? I know he's made a career on not going down and getting hit and coming back and surviving. But this is a pretty damn short turnaround. And he was on that street, man. He got hit and he got hurt badly by Eryk Anders. And this fight is not that much later. Granted, he's not going to have to cut weight, and I know that's a big deal when it comes to these kinds of things. If they had to cut back down to 185, I'd be big time on Eryk Anders because having to suck all that water out of your body again. But at 205, do you think that's going to mess with his durability? Do you think the quick turnaround has any kind of a negative effect on Darren Stewart after getting clipped the way he did last time?
Well, that's the big question. I'm more concerned about the confidence of Darren Stewart because going into that fight, I believe that that Darren Stewart had never been stopped via strikes. I know he'd been submitted before, but he'd never been knocked out. And, Eryk straight up floored him. So, but also in the first minute of that fight, I don't know if you remember, but Darren actually landed some hard shit on Eryk the first minute. Then Eryk started to take over. Then Eryk finished the fight. So, look, Darren Stewart's a dangerous guy no matter what. But going into that fight, there were a lot of questions about his training. He was because the situation overseas is a little bit different than it is here. I believe they might. Someone correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe they might still be on full lockdown. So him actually putting on those extra 20 pounds, I'm not sure if that aids Darren Stewart at all. I think that might actually be him being in worse shape. Whereas Eryk, you know where Fight Ready is? It's in Arizona. This fight's in Arizona. Eryk went back to Fight Ready for this camp again. He didn't just rest on his laurels of what happened last time. He went back this time, and he's been there since April. So I gotta go with my boy, your boy. It's just that I'm very realistic about the fact that every single fight is different. Shogun Machida, first time it's this 5-round war, second time it's a first-round knockout. So every fight is different, man, and we can't just expect Anders to just steamroll him again. I mean, don't get me wrong. I'd love nothing more than to see that, and that's not because I have anything against Darren. I respect Darren. Eryk's my boy. I want to see Eryk do well, but I think it's going to go a little bit differently this time, but at the end of the day, I got Eryk, your boy, Anders, to win this fight.
Okay. I like it, man. I know Eryk is saying he's going to finish him again this time, but I could absolutely see a decision. I could see this thing being close and gritty and him having a hard time getting Darren Stewart out of there. And, you know, we all got caught off guard by that bomb he landed the last time out. So I'm thinking it probably goes to decision, but I will definitely still have to own up, be a man of my word. I'll be having the money on Eryk Anders come Saturday. Now, we are doing this whole damn show live and free for y'all on Pub Sports Radio, so do me a favor, subscribe if you haven't already, smash the like button. We have 300 live viewers today. Shout out to my guy, Dan from Half the Battle at Best Fight Picks on Twitter. Let's hear from one of our sponsors, and then we will head on into the rest of this card. All right, now that you're all good and hungry, let's talk about the fight closing the show on the preliminary card of UFC 263. We have got Drew Dober taking on Brad Riddell in what should be a striker's delight. Now, I know everybody in the chat understands that Drew Dober may be the one fighter on the UFC roster that makes all the men everywhere question their sexuality, but does he deserve to be the -135, -145 favorite in this spot? Man, we've got my guy, Brad Riddell, coming out of City Kickboxing, a gym that I absolutely love, training partners with the man himself, Israel Adesanya, in the main event. So you know they'll be working hard together, peaking at the right time together. He's 9-1. He's definitely going to be on the wrong end of the experience edge. Drew Dober, tons of experience, 23-10, and we have seen just a 2.0 version of him since he's moved out to work with Trevor Whitman and Justin Gaethje. This guy's got aggressive Muay Thai. He's got big power. He likes to crash the pocket. He minds the range extremely well. But the big money maker for him is that left hand, man. All of his knockouts, all of his finishes, it's that one bomb. It's that left side. And Brad Riddell is a slick, high-level striker with a brick for a head. This guy is hard to hurt. He's hard to finish. He mixes it up well in the clinch. He fights well at range, and he actually has an opportunistic grappling game, man. This guy knows how to get in and change levels and seal the round off and get that last little edge on the judges' scorecards. He's a bit of a monster. When you look at their numbers, Drew Dober averages 4.33 significant strikes per minute, absorbing 3.87. Brad Riddell averages 2.36 significant strikes per minute, absorbing 2.62. Now, if we accommodate for the level of competition, they're probably pretty close to one another. Drew Dober's had more experience. He's been in the UFC longer. Obviously, we have a much bigger stat pool. And Brad Riddell, he hasn't been fighting the same level of competition for as long. But, man, if you look back at the last couple of fights for Drew Dober, after losing to Beneil Dariush, Marco Polo Reyes, a guy that just doesn't even belong in the UFC and is no longer with the company, Nasrat Haqparast, which let's be real, Nasrat is legit. We know Nasrat, he's solid, he's good. Alexander Hernandez, who's maybe a bit of a fraud when it comes to his contendership level, the number next to his name. I think he's got some upside. He's a young kid that's going to be improving. Maybe he'll get there one day. But right now, he's not that guy. So a bit of questionable competition there. And then he obviously got ground out by Islam Makhachev, which what are you going to do? He was able to get the takedowns and grind the guy out. But Brad Riddell, I feel like, is getting a little bit of a snub here from the community. Magomed Mustafayev is no joke. He won a split decision against that man. It was a close fight. It was a competitive fight. But the fact is he got his hand raised against a high-level competitor that's flying under the radar. Alex De Silva, this is another guy who deserves way more credit than he's getting. 21-3, an incredible amount of experience, got some good competition outside the UFC. They went to war and threw down. Man, what I'm getting at is I think this is a coin flip fight. I think this is 50-50, and Brad Riddell is the style of striker, the level of striker who I think can avoid that one big shot. He can avoid that one big bomb with the left. And I think getting plus money, that's got to be the side that I go with. I'm going to say dog or pass here. I don't know if I'm going to get to the window on this one again because it's close. It's razor thin. But I think if he's able to take the best shots Dober has, he'll be the more slick striker. He'll be the more technical striker. And then I think he'll level change. And I think he'll get a couple takedowns in the second and third rounds. I think he'll just be able to seal off 2 of those 3 and win a decision. How do you like this one, man?
I'm on the opposite side here. And I actually, I think we got to put a little context into some of the things you were saying. Like, we can't just say, oh, he lost to Dariush. Let's just brush it off. How about we mention he was beating Beneil's ass and Beneil pulled off a Hail Mary submission. Something that Brad Riddell is not going to do. Like, and it's not just about the one big shot with Dober. I disagree, man. I mean, I think this is one of the more fluid Muay Thai guys in the lightweight division. I think he's got big kicks. I mean, look at the size of those legs, man. One thing about Drew Dober, and this is one thing Clint and I will agree on, Drew Dober doesn't skip leg day. And I think that he's a guy that his combinations are getting better. He's durable. And they're like, look, he's that guy that's so exciting that I don't give a fuck if he wins or loses. And I mean, unless I got money on the line, but just as a fan, like, Drew Dober can go lose 10 fights in a row, and I'm still going to watch his fights because he brings it every single time. And I've never really seen anyone beat him in a striking match before. The guys that beat him, Makhachev, I mean, is there any shame in losing to Makhachev? What happened to him and Makhachev was exactly what was going to happen when Gregor Gillespie was supposed to fight Brad Riddell. I mean, it's almost like that fight didn't happen in my eyes because that fight literally has no bearing or relation to this fight whatsoever. Brad Riddell is not about to come out here, hit a bunch of takedowns on Drew Dober and submit him. Like, if that happens, man, then I'll give every single one of your listeners $100. And shit, now I just made a mistake because now Riddell is going to submit him. I'm going to owe everyone money. But like, I'm just saying, man, this is going to be a stand and bang fest between 2 serious strikers. Now Riddell, the kickboxing background's on point. I love his striking. But, man, I think that he's a little bit green at the UFC level. I mean, even in some of these fights, like against Malarkey, he got floored by a guy like Malarkey. In that fight against Da Silva, man, it was 1-1 going into that third round. And even the Magomed Mustafayev fight, I know that eventually, he took care of biz. He knocked him down. He did his thing. It was a split decision. He only landed 38 significant strikes. So I'm just not quite sold on him beating a guy like Drew Dober, who I think that Riddell is obviously talented. He's obviously legit. It's just I kind of view his striking a little stiffer, whereas I think Drew Dober might be the more fluid guy. And one thing I've always talked about with Drew Dober is he's the kind of guy that one day he's going to get rewarded for his hard work. Because this is a guy, you go back, how he started his UFC career, right? He started his UFC career 2-4. You understand what I'm saying? And when you talk about bad luck, let's talk about the kind of luck this dude had. He fought Leandro Silva in Brazil. Leandro puts him in a guillotine. Drew didn't tap. Drew didn't go to sleep. Ref just comes in, stops the fight, tells Leandro he's the winner. Like, really? Like, I'm in the middle of defending a guillotine, but you're going to say I either tapped or went to sleep when I did neither? He had to go through bullshit. He fights Efrain Escudero, gets submitted in under a minute. This is a guy that's overcome some shit. And since that point, man, he told me personally it was the Josh Berkman fight where everything started to click. And I mean, as you see, he's 6-2 since that fight, right? So now I think that all the dues he's been paying, it's finally catching up. And, Okay, yeah, he beat Marco Polo. Who cares? We don't got to talk about that. Why don't we talk about how he beat Nasrat Hakbraz as a plus 300 dog and didn't just beat him, Clint, starched him like it was nothing.
That was
and
filthy.
Then the Alex Hernandez fight. Now, I've faded Alex Hernandez a lot. I picked Moises. I picked Cowboy. I picked Drew Dober. I've always thought that kid was way overhyped because he had a fluke finish in his debut, which, by the way, run it back with Benil and see what happens, Alex. Alex Hernandez is too focused on his pocket thesaurus than he is on actually going out there and performing. Drew Dober handled him accordingly. As far as I'm concerned, the Islam Makhachev fight never happened because that has literally no bounds, no grounds, that holds zero weight in this fight. So there's going to be two strikers going out there and standing and banging until one man falls or until they get their fight of the night bonus. I'll be surprised. Maybe one of them wants to mix in a takedown or two, but I think Drew's the cleaner, more fluid striker here, the more experienced guy, the guy that's paid his dues. I think Saturday night's first UFC L time for Brad Riddell. He will be back. I respect him. He'll be back. It's Drew Dober's time right now.
Okay. All right. We got a bit of a disagreement. I think the level of disagreement goes to me saying I think it's a dog and I'm passing, but my man Dan is committed and he's got a bet on this one in his pocket. So my confidence level is not quite where I'm going to put too much of a fight up on that argument, man. You've got some very valid points. And I think you're right. The fact that he's been battle tested in the UFC, that speaks for something. That absolutely speaks volumes. And I may have been a bit too harsh when I said he's just got the left hand. I know he knows how to set it up. He's got good, solid Muay Thai. The leg kicks are there. So I should have expanded on that point a little bit more than just leaving it simply as the left hand. But I do think it's going to be a good fight. I'm definitely I'm sticking to my guns. I'll say dog or pass, but like I said, I don't know that I'm necessarily betting this one because there are some other spots on the card that I still think are better than this one. I expect man, this is a good fight. You know what I mean? I think Brad Riddell is an incredible talent. He's a great striker. He's going to show up for this fight. So no matter who ends up getting their hands raised, I don't expect this one to be easy.
Yeah. I mean, these are two bangers, man. Like fists and kicks are going to fly in this fight.
Now, I know you're excited to talk this next fight through with me, man. As is tradition, we got Dan on for the right episode to break down Paul Craig taking on Jamahal Hill. And UFC, get your shit together. My boy Hill deserves to have his picture working on this card. Man, get a photo of him up right here. So we've got Paul the Bear Jew Craig, a guy that everybody knows that I'm crazy for. I don't know why I love this crazy son of a bitch. He's the grappling version or the jiu-jitsu version of Ion Kutalaba. Like, I love the crazy energy that he brings into the UFC and the fact that he gets in people's faces, he gets under their skin. He can finish from anywhere, man. This guy's Brazilian jiu-jitsu is actually really slick, and his wrestling game is improving. He's getting better, getting the fight where he needs it to be. He's got a decent front kick to kind of manage the range of his opponent, but his striking leaves a lot to be desired, and he's paid for his bad striking more than once, man. That triple spinning back fist shit that he tried on Alonzo Minifield is a situation I'll just never let go, because I had a bet on Paul Craig that night. I thought he could expose Alonzo Minifield, and then he threw a third spinning back fist and paid for it, and that left a bad taste in my mouth. Anyway, Paul Craig is a guy that takes one to give one so he can close that range and get in on his opponent, and we have seen him have more than low fight IQ. Very questionable decision-making inside the octagon, but you have to mind your P's and Q's because he can snap a submission from anywhere. We've seen him win at the literal last second of a fight more than once. Jamahal Hill, on the other hand, this guy is a massive prospect. You and I both think that he is on a rocket ship headed towards contendership and potentially championship in the championship. Did I just really say that? The championship in the UFC. This guy's got it all, man. He manages range extremely well. He has a front kick that is a weapon. The teep that he uses hurts people. He's got a nice low angle on it, gets him right in the gut, snaps that thing up there hard and fast. He uses feints well. He's got incredibly fast hands, tight boxing, and he's got filthy clinch knees, man. If he gets in too close to use his hands, he goes to work with those big knees. He's always working the body of his opponents, which just breaks them down over the course of a 15-minute fight. And I love everything that I see from Hill. The only question that I have on him is the takedown defense, man. I know it's been a little bit, but you go back to the Darko Stosic fight, and he got taken down 6 out of 9 times. This is a spot where if Paul Craig bum rushes him and puts him on his butt and gets on top, I will sweat. I will be concerned, because when Paul Craig is on top of somebody, he does have a path to basically anybody. But his get-up game, Jamahal Hill that is, Hill's get-up game is good. It's solid. It's what I need it to be. And I think that this minus 300 price tag is more than deserving. And honestly, I think with the gas issues that we have seen from Paul Craig, that it's not going to take long for Hill to get up and put something on him and knock him out cold. I expect Hill by knockout, probably in the first round, if he can manage to shuck 1 or 2 takedowns. If he doesn't get it done in the first, it's coming in the second, man. I like Hill. I like Hill here a lot. How do you feel about this fight?
I mean, you know who I like in this fight, but look, let's just address this this whole takedown thing, because I feel like, you know, you've grappled before. I've grappled before, so we understand certain things about grappling, such as if you put all your effort into taking someone down and then they just pop back up, that's going to gas you out. And we talk about how he got taken down 6 times against Darko Stosic. Well, how many times did he get back up?
6.
Exactly. How long was he held down for?
Not long at all.
Okay. So when you talk about a guy like Jamahal Hill, because I think people are under the impression that this is another Rumble Johnson or another Melvin Guillard where, yeah, on the feet they're dangerous, but all you got to do, you take them down and you know, they're going to quick tap and that's all it is. Jamahal Hill's not that guy. A lot of people are going to be very surprised when they find out that this guy can actually grapple. And that get-up game that I saw from him in that Darko fight, which, by the way, was his UFC debut, I mean, to have a get-up game, because usually, okay, it's one thing to have a get-up game, but then you get back up and you're gassed. You have nothing left. Then the takedowns come easier. This guy's getting up, and his volume never wanes. And, I mean, his jab game is on point. His distance, his straight left, his kicks, it's just the whole arsenal. His ground and pound. I think that people aren't quite aware of what we're dealing with this guy, Jamahal Hill, because the example I gave last time was, you know, obviously he's got the power of a light heavyweight. I mean, he's 6'4" with a 79-inch reach. I mean, he can put anybody out, but he's got the output of a bantamweight. I mean, when's the last time you see a guy in the 205-pound division, you know, is just landing over 100 strikes in a 3-round fight? I mean, this guy is out. He's a volume machine, but he's precise. And also, he's dedicated. He's not one of these guys that he won a couple fights and now he's about to go blow all his money. Now he's going to show up unfocused. There's a guy, you know, we played some Call of Duty the other night, and midnight rolls around. He's like, hey, bro, I got to wake up at 6 a.m. to go to the gym. See you later. You know, so he's a guy that's so dedicated that – and also, here's another thing. He went to Arizona 2 weeks early just to acclimatize. I mean, just to get used to that desert air. I mean, this is a guy that takes it so damn seriously that I think Craig's in trouble, man. Look, Craig is a guy I have a lot of respect for, and I'll tell you why, because he's made leaps, man. And not only that, he's a dog. He's a guy, you don't put him out of there and you start to, you know, coast against a guy like Paul Craig, and that triangle's getting thrown up and you're getting tapped out. You know, like he's had 2 really nice comeback wins against Magomed Ankalaev, who a lot of people consider to be a future champ, and even Kennedy Nzechukwu, who, you know, is a 6'5" athletic freak, right? Like you saw his last knockout. So this guy, Paul Craig, is dangerous at all times, and he's not someone you can sleep on. But the good news about Jamahal Hill is it's not just the physical attributes of being 6'4" with a 79-inch reach. It's not just the high output that you haven't ever seen at light heavyweight before. It's not just the get-up game, which this guy's impossible to hold down. You know, Paul Craig's a gasser. You know, Paul Craig has trouble holding him down. He's going to start gassing. He's going to start flopping to his back. But what about the fight IQ, the in-fight decision-making of a guy like Jamahal Hill? And he's less than 10 pro fights into his career, Clint. So I'm riding this train till the wheels fall off, man. I think that this is the guy. Like the way people regard Ankalaev, the way people regard or used to regard Dominic Reyes or Alexander Rakic or all these guys who I respect, of course. That's how I regard Jamahal Hill. I think he's the dark horse of this division. And all due respect to Paul Craig, because Obviously, I'm not trying to get into a situation where Paul Craig takes his back and we have to defend chokes. I mean, I'm confident we can escape those spots, but why even give this guy a chance to win? And something else I like about Craig, he's been improving his kicking game. I know you're talking about that Alonzo Menafield fight where, you know, he threw a couple too many spins, but in that last Shogun fight, he's going upstairs now, just with traditional Muay Thai kicks and his series on the mat. You know, he can run you through that series, Darce, the guillotine, triangle, like the dude's slick as fuck. So, but Jamahal understands that. What Jamahal told me about this fight was that I'm not going to let this guy hang around because I know that he's a survivor. He's the kind of guy that, you know, you start to, like I said, you start to coast, you start to get cocky because you're whooping his ass so much. All of a sudden you're going to sleep with a triangle. Jamahal realizes I got to get rid of this guy and not even give him a chance. And I think that's exactly what he's going to do. And I think we're looking at a new rising star in the light heavyweight division.
Man, having the inside track on a fighter like Jamahal Hill here with Dan on the podcast for you all today. That's incredible information. That is great news. And man, like I said, I feel like Jamahal Hill is worth this -300 price tag. But what if I told you there was maybe another way we could bet this at a better line? What if I told you that we could drop that price tag and still expect our guy Hill to get it done? How would you feel about over under 1.5 rounds, Dan? How quick do you think this thing is getting done?
I mean, that's the great question. But, you know, for me, you already know I'm very old school with this shit. I just, it's hard enough to pick a method, let alone the winner, right? And I'm just very confident he's going to win this fight. And I don't think that the line is out of whack. Don't get me wrong. Look, Paul Craig comes out here, submits him. Then, you know, you guys can screen record my breakdown, make fun of me all you want. I really don't give a fuck. But I truly believe that if it goes the distance, Jamahal Hill's winning. I believe if there's a knockout, Jamahal Hill's winning. If it's a ground and pound TKO, I think Jamahal Hill's winning. It's just, you know, but again, back to this example. I know I'm repeating myself, but people are under the impression this is just another Rumble Johnson where, yeah, on the feet, let's look out. But all you got to do is put your arm around his neck. He's going to quick tap. I'm telling you, Jamahal Hill is not that guy. Jamahal Hill is well-rounded. And people that have never grappled in their lives before and they see him getting taken down 6 times, that's the red flag to them. Why don't we acknowledge that unbelievable get-up game and the fact that he's not tired when he gets back up, the fact that the output doesn't wane when he gets back up. So I think he's the real deal, man, and I think he's going to win very impressively and emphatically Saturday night, and I look forward to it.
All right. I like it, Dan, and we may be finding a couple of extra spots to bring out those hammers for Saturday. I got to give a shout out here to our guy, Don't Ask, Don't Tell. Thank you so much for the $10 donation, my friend, helping us keep the lights on here at Pub Sports Radio. We appreciate the positive words here, and Pub Sports Radio has been a money-making machine between all the different shows. We've been giving out winners left and right here on this one, so I do apologize here. Oh, got a good question for you, Dan. We'll take a quick tangent here.
Okay.
DFS wants to know,
that's for
Hill
bro picks
or Jiri? I know, but I want to ask you. I know that's for bro picks, but I want to pose that same question to you because Jiri has been showing up and doing some wild man shit in the UFC.
Jiri is fantastic.
He's amazing.
I got nothing bad to say about Jiri. I will say this. Hill told me he wants that fight, but first things first, Paul Craig. And I wanted to say one more thing since you reminded me about something. So remember this kid, Dusko Todorovic, right? So
Yes.
Going into Dusko Todorovic is because into his UFC debut, he had that Contender Series fight, and it said, oh, Dusko lands 7-something strikes per minute. So that could be kind of misleading because it was only a 1-fight sample size, right? And now that he's had a couple more fights, that number has gone down. It's kind of, balanced itself out. You look at Jamahal Hill. He had that, huge strikes landed per minute number after his Contender Series fight. He's had 3 fights in the UFC. That number hasn't gone down, my friend. He's still in, and now we have sample size of a 15-minute fight. We got a fight that ended in the first round. We got a fight that ended in the second round. Another second round on Contender Series. So we have a 4-fight sample size. That this isn't just what's the word I'm looking for? This isn't overinflation. This isn't just a tiny sample size. So it's going to even out over time. No. This is really how this guy fights, and expect no different Saturday night.
Okay. Let's take that for what it is, and we'll move the show right along. I like it. I think both of us are on the Jamahal Hill side here.
Jamal.
Okay. I'm never sure if I'm pronouncing that right, and I heard a couple of people on the UFC broadcast go with Jamahal, so Jamahal Hill.
Jamal.
I'll make sure I say it correctly from this point forward. And
So, someone says I'm overhyping him, which is fine. You're entitled to your opinion, but just remember, you all said that before the OSP fight too. So you all, and I remember I got him pick him against Clitson Abreu. You know, so that's fine. You guys keep disrespecting him. Let me keep riding this train to the bank. Let's see what happens.
Those were good times, Dan. I remember getting him against Clitson Abreu, and that was definitely a good time. So, all right, here we go. Moving on, we have got Belal Muhammad taking on Demian Maia, the man himself, the grappling monster. Man, we have got a changing of the guard fight here on Saturday. Demian Maia, y'all, if you watch UFC, you all know exactly who this man is. High-level Brazilian jiu-jitsu player, probably the best jiu-jitsu practitioner in the UFC in his prime, and world-class, just sells out for that takedown, man. He goes for that body lock, and he is like glue. He gets around your waist, drags you up against the fence, trips you up in any way possible to get you to the floor, and then once you're there, he sticks to you like glue. The one thing that is a problem for Demian Maia at this point is just his age, man. He is getting up there. He is past that age of 40, and y'all know me. I've got a rule. I'm not betting on a 40-year-old fighter unless I've got a damn good reason to do it. And I more than once have said that my damn good reason is because it's Demian fucking Maia. Like, he's just that good. You're welcome to take the guy. He's one of these Brazilian legends like Glover Teixeira and Trinaldo that they just never get old, and they can continue competing even late into their careers. Demian Maia is coming off a bad knockout loss to my boy Gilbert Durinho Burns. And what I saw in that fight was just pure chef kiss, the grappling, man. He got Burns down and he got mount on him, and the transitions, the tiny little tweak adjustments that Burns made to get back up to his feet was insanely impressive. And then he was able to land that power shot. My concern here on Saturday for Belal is that he's not quite Gilbert Burns. I don't think Belal is quite the grappler that Gilbert Burns is. I don't think Belal is quite the striker that Gilbert Burns is. I don't think he has quite the power that Gilbert Burns does. And that one little bit makes me question this line. Now, I know absolutely everybody on their horse is on Belal Muhammad. I think he's going to win this fight. I know all the signs point to it. I know this is Maia's retirement fight. He's got one foot out the door already. And I like that the line is coming down just a little bit. He opened up minus 270. Belal is now about minus 225. Some money has been coming in on the dog here. I do think that Belal's grappling, his wrestling will be enough. We saw him in his fight against Leon Edwards. He was able to shuck Leon Edwards off of him up against the fence, and then he was able to land a beautiful clinch elbow on his way out of that. That if he's able to implement that kind of grappling defense against Maia, he absolutely is going to be able to grind out this win. But if Maia gets him down, if Maia does get him down, he's the bigger man, he's the stronger man, and even though Belal is solid in jiu-jitsu as well, he is the better man once it hits the floor. I am going to be completely honest that I'm a little afraid to stand in front of Demian Maia here in this spot. Dan, talk to me about this fight.
So, I mean, you said Belal doesn't have the power of Gilbert or the jiu-jitsu of Gilbert. Okay, but, 9 other people have beat Demian Maia that don't have the power of Gilbert or the jiu-jitsu of Gilbert. So it's not like Gilbert was the first guy to beat him. This dude's lost 10 times, right?
He was the first one to flatline him, though, and that's where, Kamaru Usman, Colby Covington, Tyrone Woodley, the size, man, the physicality, that's what I think made the difference. You know what I mean?
Well, Nate Marquardt also floored him, so he's been knocked out before. But yeah, I feel you. Listen, you're right about that. But here, listen, Clint, I've only spoken in absolutes twice, and I think we're about to make it thrice. Okay, let's talk about this for a second. When Belal Muhammad fought Takashi Sato in Abu Dhabi, I said no guy named Muhammad is losing a judge's decision in Abu Dhabi. He ends up finishing that fight. Anyways, I said when Muslim Salikov fought Elijah Zaleski in Abu Dhabi, I said no guy named Muslim is losing a judge's decision in Abu Dhabi, and it was a controversial split for Muslim. Now, you ready for my next absolute?
I'm ready.
No 43-year-old is beating Belal Muhammad in a fight, period.
There you go.
That's all.
That's the breakdown, folks. That is the breakdown right there. Mic drop moment here on the Die Hard MMA podcast. And that's fair. That is absolutely fair. Like I said, he's older. We've seen the chinks in the armor. You know, his last couple of wins, the Ben Askren submission. Ooh, was that juicy? I bet on him for that one. That was my last ride with Demian Maia. I'm definitely not saying that I'm betting on Demian Maia whatsoever. I just have the grappling concerns. But, man, I love the confidence. I love the call.
Look, here's the thing, not to cut you off, just to actually give them a real breakdown more than a one-liner. If Maia gets us down in the first round, like, Belal's very smart. Belal says that he's not about to just try to scramble out. He said, okay, look, I can accept losing the first round because I know for a fact that when that second round rolls around, just like it did when Maia fought Rory and a lot of these other guys, Maia does something we like to call the walking mummy. He gets so gassed out after that first initial jiu-jitsu burst that then he starts shooting from a mile away. Then he starts flopping to his back. You start to do that on a cardio machine like Belal Muhammad, where, by the way, his second to last fight against Diego Lima, you saw the nonstop pressure. He said that he wants to have, this is what Belal said. He said, man, I want to emulate the output of a Max Holloway, because you know what Holloway did to Cater. That was like, that changed the game. So Belal took a lot of influence from that. He says he wants to emulate that output, but also be a guy that's coming out here and, you know, attempting 7 to 10 takedowns a fight. Now, I don't assume he's going to attempt that many here in Maia. I'm just talking in normal terms because, you know, Belal is the guy that attempts a lot of takedowns. Here, he's going to wrestle in reverse. He's going to, you know, maybe he gets taken down the first round. If he does, he survives. Aside from that, it's going to be sprawl and brawl all day. And Maia is going to be gassed to a point. He does not have the condition. That's not that he doesn't run his miles. It's just with his style, he goes so hard to get you down to the ground. And if he can do that and he can submit Belal, be the first man in over 20 fights to submit Belal, hey, all due respect. But I think that we're dealing with a 43-year-old man. This is not 35-year-old Maia anymore. This is not 25-year-old. This is a 43-year-old man. I think he's got one burst in him, and that's it. So I think second and third round, Belal is going to take him to a place called Deep Waters, and I think he's going to drown the great Demian Maia. Hopefully Maia can get a comeback fight just to go out on a win, but this won't be it.
I like it. I like it, Dan, and your confidence is definitely infectious. I've got another friend of mine who is literally tying Belal Muhammad into every single play that he makes this weekend. He is that confident in Belal getting it done that he's using him as the crux to bring the price down on every other bet that he makes. He's parlaying Belal literally with every single other bet he makes, and he's got about 5 or 6 of them. So I know a lot of people that are very confident in Belal, and it bears being mentioned, like you said, that Belal's not been submitted. He's never been submitted in his professional MMA career, and if he goes Chuck Liddell style, he uses that grappling in reverse. Yeah, man, you got a point. I will fully confess and admit here to my viewers, because y'all know me, you're never going to get anything but open, honesty, transparency from me. I've been looking so laser focused at what Demian Maia has done extremely recently that I almost forgot about his gas tank issues. I forgot about the fact that, like you said, he slows down horrifically after round 1. In round 3, he's a zombie. I kind of forgot that was a part of his game because I was intent on the last couple fights that haven't lasted that long. And Belal is absolutely a cardio machine. So if he can get out of that first round, you're damn sure he's winning rounds 2 and 3 on the judges' scorecards, and there's a potential for a late finish if he doesn't get him out of there early with some kind of a bomb that he connects with. So I think you're right, Dan. I think I'm shaking at ghosts here. I'm reading a little too hard between the lines, and Belal's probably the easy pick to get this thing done.
Let's get it.
Let's get it. All right, folks, we are moving the show along here. Now we get to the good stuff. Now we get to the good shit. We're at the top end of the card, and this may have a main and a co-main event, but UFC 263 has salvaged a prior main event, and even though there's no belt on the line, even though it's not the main event, they're keeping this bad boy 5 rounds. We have got Leon Edwards taking on the returning Nate Diaz, the fan favorite, the man that people have been waiting to step foot inside that cage again. He's back on Saturday, and he's got an opportunity here. in what's got to be a title eliminator fight, right? I mean, Leon Edwards has been promised the belt with just one more impressive win. How many times they give him a big old name like Nate Diaz, the guy that took out Conor McGregor? You got to think if Nate pulls off the upset, he's getting his title shot here too. Don't you think, Dan?
Yeah, I mean, Nate's going to be in big fights no matter what. I think basically what they're trying to do is this. Leon Edwards, he's super underrated. He's a very skilled fighter, and he's like on a, 8-fight unbeaten streak right now. Like, he hasn't lost in 8 fights. It's just that not too many people really know who he is yet, and the guy definitely deserves a title shot. I mean, look at the run he's on, right? It's just that, the fans aren't too, maybe the hardcore fans like us, but like, if I go and ask my friends that don't watch MMA who Leon Edwards is, like, who, but they damn well know who Nate Diaz and McGregor are, right? So I think basically what they're trying to do is, if Leon goes out there and beats Nate Diaz, well, now all of a sudden, now people are going to know who he is. It's just, here's my biggest concern. If he beats him in a boring way, I'm curious if this is going to go how it's supposed to go. Because if he beats the shit out of Nate Diaz, then that's going to not validate his win streak, because his win streak is already valid and he's already earned his spot. But it's just getting over with the fans, because you want to sell this pay-per-view, right? So he comes out here, he beats the shit out of Nate Diaz, and all of a sudden, all his hard work is going to pay off seemingly overnight. But one thing I got to say, there's a 5-round fight, right?
Yeah. This is absolutely right? A 5-round fight.
Interesting, right? Yeah. So listen, Nate's a very awkward guy, and Nate's one of these guys that he'll show up when you least expect it. And this is not just something recent. This is back in the day when he fought Cerrone. And I know some of y'all noobs that just started watching, and you only seen Cerrone on his 5-fight skid, you wouldn't understand back then in the Brock Lesnar Overeem card in the co-main event when Nate was an underdog to Cerrone and he boxed him up. That was a huge deal back in the day. The Jim Miller fight, Nate Diaz was a plus 220 dog. The Michael Johnson fight, he was an underdog. The Conor McGregor fight, he was an underdog. So he's surprised people when they least expect it. So, I'm just curious to see if Nate can, because I mean, he's just very awkward to deal with. He's long. He's got some pop in his hands. He's got a decent jiu-jitsu game. It's just that he plays by his own rules, right? Like, he's not going to come out here stuffing takedowns. And he's the kind of guy that, he'll accept bottom position. He'll start slapping you from bottom, and he'll act like he won the fight. Like, he lives by his own rules, and he's someone I'll always have respect for. Him and his brother, the classic fights they put on. I mean, Nick Diaz versus Paul Daly, Nick Diaz versus Robbie Lawler, Nick versus BJ, and then all the fights Nate had that I mentioned, the Cerrone fight, et cetera, the Conor McGregor fight. So Nate's a stud. I love the guy. And honestly, the Jorge Masvidal fight, I watched it the other night. Man, that was a really entertaining fight. I kind of wish they let it go another 2 rounds. Not saying the result would have been different, but I'm just saying it was a very entertaining fight. I enjoyed it a lot. Look, I got to go with Leon because, he one thing I've always respected about Leon is he doesn't take any unnecessary risks. He does exactly what he needs to do to get the job done. Now, granted, since he's a minus 500 to minus 600 favorite, I guess we can bring up some holes that we've seen in this game. I guess we can bring up the time that Brian Barberena dropped him. I guess we can bring up the time that Gunnar Nelson full mounted him in the 3rd round. So there have been, some hit or miss situations. Maybe Diaz can capitalize on something. He's a experienced vet. The only reason I'm talking like this is because we're dealing with a minus 500 line. You got to bring up every possible scenario. But yeah, at the end of the day, I do think that Leon Edwards is winning this fight. So he is my pick. But yeah, I'm curious to see how Nate shows up here.
Yeah. I'm looking on the posts we've seen on social media and stuff. Nate is taking this fight very seriously, and I don't know if you watched the UFC's countdown. He feels that this fight is for the belt. Now, I'll let you decide whether or not that's crazy talk, but he believes that this is his title fight, and he is treating it as such. So I expect we'll see the best Nate Diaz that we've ever seen on Saturday. But like you mentioned, man, the holes for Nate Diaz cannot be something that we overlook. The fact that he is so confident in his jiu-jitsu that he will lay on his back and do the come on and play, and he will accept the bottom position to a strong wrestler with good defensive grappling. That's a huge problem to me. The fact that he got TKO'd by Jorge Masvidal, which not that that's a knock on you, because Masvidal's got some serious pop on his punches.
Cut stoppage, excuse me.
There is... Well, he was getting his ass beat in that fight. The chin of Diaz is legendary. We'll definitely go ahead and say that. But one thing one thing. I got to shout out my man Dan Tom for pointing this out. Nate Diaz has a terrible tendency of just not being able to stop head kicks. And if you watch Leon Edwards striking, it has been improving leaps and bounds. He's an incredible grappler. He shuts people down. He grinds. But, man, lately he's got a head kick. And he has done some serious damage with that head kick. In fact, he rocked his former opponent, Belal Muhammad, who fights just before him on this card, a little awkwardly since Belal wanted to, run that fight back with him after the eye poke. He rocked him badly with that head kick. And if he can pull that sneaky head kick out here, I think he can hurt Nate Diaz, man. I think Diaz, I know I'm going to get a ton of shit for this in the comments because with big UFC pay-per-views like this, you get all the casuals that come out for the big ones when Conor's fighting, when Nate's fighting. But I'm sorry, guys, Nate is not a championship level fighter. He simply isn't. He's got a lot of skill sets, but the game has passed him by. The MMA today is different from what it was 10 years ago, and he is not derailing Kamaru Usman. He is not submitting Colby Covington. I don't think he's getting past Leon Edwards on Saturday. I think Leon's going to mind his P's and Q's, keep it tight, do exactly what he needs to do to win. And I don't expect him to give the opportunity for Nate to get any kind of dominant position or submission on him. I expect Leon to dominate this fight pillar to post. And I do think that Leon is going to finish Nate Diaz. I'll go ahead and say it. I don't know if it's a TKO victory or if he catches him with that head kick I was talking about, but I think that Leon Edwards is on another level, and I do think he's going to end up putting Nate Diaz away on Saturday.
What do you think about this? Because one thing that I've noticed is Nate cuts very easily, and Leon is very sharp with his elbows. So, maybe another cut stoppage wouldn't surprise me either, Clint.
That's a good point, man. They run all those trailers. The Conor fight, he's bloody all down the face. He got doctor stopped in his last fight versus Masvidal. If he ends up underneath Leon and Leon goes to work with those elbows, he absolutely could get stopped when the blood is pooling in his eyes and he can't see what's going on in that fight anymore. I think ground and pound is absolutely on the table, man.
Yes, sir.
All right. Well, we see eye to eye there. It's a big price tag. I don't like the minus 550 necessarily because that is a lot of juice to lay. But you're entering banana peel pricing here, man. You're saying that this guy is a lock to win the fight unless he beats himself, and I kind of have to agree with that here. We got our co-main event coming up, everybody, and we've got 355 live viewers on the show. Thank you all so much for spending your Monday night with us. Me and my guy Dan breaking down UFC 263. This is Pub Sports Radio. Smash that like button for us. We definitely appreciate it. Make sure you follow my guy on Twitter as well. He does a show. He'll be on later on Fridays, I think, for
at 10 a.m.
Thursday for Half the Battle. So make sure you check him out. And we have got the fight that I am most excited about for Saturday, man. The rematch, the God of War, Deiveson Figueiredo, taking on the assassin baby, Brandon Moreno. This is a fight that I could not have been happier was a draw the last time it happened, man, because Brandon Moreno has been my dark horse forever. I watched this guy on The Ultimate Fighter, and I watched him turn into an absolute monster. And I've been saying for a long time that he is a better fighter than people gave him credit for. And finally it clicked. He hit that corner. He turned. He made it work. And he's putting it all together at the right time. And when he fought Brandon Moreno, I'm sorry, when he fought Deiveson Figueiredo, I laid the chalk, man. I laid the wood on Deiveson Figueiredo because we can take all the stats, all the numbers, anything you think you know about MMA, crumple it up into a paper and huck it out the window whenever Deiveson Figueiredo fights because he ignores all of those rules and simply kills whoever is in front of him. And I felt sick inside. I hated betting against Brandon Moreno. And on this podcast, I said, the value side is Brandon Moreno. This line is wide. He is better than people are giving him credit for. But I'm betting the other way because Deiveson Figueiredo simply wins fights. And I couldn't be happier with a draw, man, because you know when you're watching MMA who you're a fan of. Because even if you've got money on a fight, as soon as they start swinging at each other, you are rooting for one of those individuals in the cage. And I had a fat bet on Deiveson Figueiredo and was screaming every time Brandon Moreno landed a bomb. I was rooting for him every second of that fight. And the fact that he showed up and the fact that he did what he did, he rocked Figueiredo, something that nobody else in the UFC has really done. Maybe once, maybe twice. Nobody has taken it to Deiveson the way Brandon did, the way his chin held up. He's one of these Mexican warriors that we just talk about all the time that don't break. He took everything Figgy had to offer and kept coming. It was a spectacular fight, man. Absolutely spectacular. I can't wait for round 2. And I feel like my opinion is the exact same as it was the first time we broke it down. I think that the value is on Brandon Moreno, and especially because we saw the way the fight played out the first time just a couple of months ago. You know, these guys are both going to go hard to work. Maybe there's a little bit of improvement, but it's a pretty quick turnaround. They are mostly the same fighter. Obviously, the game plan, there will be little tweaks. But the toughness, the durability of Brandon Moreno, I think, is going to keep him in this fight. The only question mark for me is the fact that that first fight was a short turnaround. The fact that Deiveson Figueiredo made that horrific weight cut that we know is so hard for him to do in, 10 days? It was a UFC record for a turnaround on a title fight, and we know that had to have taken something out of him. That's the only reason that I'm hesitating here, because if he gets a full camp, if he gets a full cut, did we see a withered version of Deiveson Figueiredo that night? Did we not see the A game of Deiveson Figueiredo that night? I'm honestly more tempted to play the total on this one than I am to play the side, because I think the value's on Brandon Moreno. I know I'm a fan. I know I've got my heart invested, so I'm going to be cheering for this guy, and part of me wants to put a bet on him because I see the value on him. But I also think that the total being set where it's at, they're expecting this thing to go the distance, and the beating these two put on each other, this fight should have ended the last time out. It absolutely, there's no reason for either of these guys to have survived the way they did that last fight. If they both come in on full camps, not on short turnarounds, full weight cuts, full training, they're going to be just that much more dangerous. And very much like Shogun and Machida, they went to war the first time. The second time, the champ showed up and did what he was supposed to do. I may have got that backwards. You get my point. The first time these two went to war and they went the full 25 minutes, I'm kind of expecting the opposite here, and I think someone's probably going to end up going to sleep, getting a plus 110 price tag on the under 4.5. That's probably the way I'm more interested in looking, but my soul, my heart, maybe my wallet is going to be on Brandon Moreno Saturday. Dan, talk to me about this fight. This one's going to be awesome.
I mean, listen, I don't think the first fight was a draw. I thought that Figueiredo won 4 rounds to 1. I think even with the point deduction, it wasn't a draw. So to me, I'm just like, do we even really need to see this fight again? I mean, we do, because it was a draw. It's just that when I watched it, I didn't consider it a draw. And also this whole narrative about Deiveson being first round or bust is like one of the biggest bullshit theories I've ever heard in all my years watching the sport. Here's why. So Figueiredo fought Pantoja for 3 rounds. What did all 3 judges score the fight? 30-27.
Yeah.
So Figueiredo's first round or bust. Okay, how come he won the 5th round against Brandon Moreno? How come he was the one out there when it was time to dig deep, when there was a point deduction? How come it was Figueiredo that went out there and dropped Moreno in the 5th round? So literally the only reason he didn't win that fight is because this one dumbass judge, look, okay, take the point deduction, no big deal. This one dumbass judge scored the 5th round for Moreno when Moreno got dropped in that round. I'm like, are you fucking kidding me right now? So I thought Fig won that fight. I thought he showed once again he's not a first round or bust fighter. He can win decisions. And like you said, to complement your point, all fights are different in the history of the sport. And I know I've mentioned these examples already. Machida Shogun, first time 5-round war, second time first round finish. Benson versus Cerrone, first time 5-round war, second time first round finish. Pettis and Cerrone, first time first round finish, next time 3-round war. We can fucking literally go on. Dan Henderson, what was the Dan Henderson fight that, the first time was a 5-round war with Shogun. Second time was a stoppage in the 3rd round. So it's going to be a different result. It's obviously not going to be a draw this time. I think this time it's going to be Fig inside the distance. Look, Moreno gave it his best ditch effort. He's a true Mexican warrior, and I like him too. When I saw that fight he put up against what's his name? What's the fire ant? What's the fire ant? Formiga. Yeah,
Juicy.
yeah. When he fought the fire ant, like, dude, that was the performance where I was like, damn, like maybe Brandon Moreno might contend for a title one day. Like he looked like a grown ass man in that fight, you know, escaping the back takes of Formiga. Like it was nothing, man. So he earned his title shot, no questions asked. I just think that right now is Deiveson's reign. It's Deiveson's time, and I don't think anybody's touching him at flyweight. So I think this time he's going to finish Brandon Moreno. So yeah, too much firepower, and now he's got the experience, and it's like this misconception that he's just this big, powerful athlete. Look, he is a big, powerful athlete, but let's not sleep on that disgusting jiu-jitsu. You remember that armbar attempt in the first Joseph Benavidez fight?
And that squeeze he's got, man, if he gets your neck.
The rear naked choke, his guillotine, and then let's take it a step further. What about that one punch knockout power? His takedown defense is getting better. He's hitting takedowns of his own now. He's getting back up from bottom. I think that Deiveson Figueiredo is here to stay. So, and still.
Okay. It's hard to argue, man. And like I said, I know my heart's involved in this one, and that's why I'm kind of looking for a different angle to take on it because...
Real quick. Sorry to cut you off.
No, you're good. Go for it.
Nigel added a couple examples to what I was talking about. Jones and Gustafsson, first time 5-round war, second time stoppage. Jones versus DC, first time 5-round war, second time stoppage. Joanne versus Rose, first time first round stoppage, second time 5-round war. So it's going to be a different result. But what I've noticed is when it goes the distance one time, it's ending inside the distance the next time. Exactly. I got to favor Figgy to end the shit inside the distance. And that's all due respect to Moreno, true Mexican warrior. Got nothing bad to say about him. I just think it's Figgy's time.
Man, I can't argue that. Like I said, I bet it for Figgy the first time. Even though I know I'm a fan of Brandon Moreno, I bet it for Figgy the first time. So I'm right there with you. I understand, and I think that you're probably more often than not right in this position. And the judging was a little wonky the first time around. I will absolutely give you that. So I think it's probably Figueiredo. I don't want to see my boy Brandon Moreno knocked out, but we did see Figueiredo himself wobbled in that fight, so we can't count out Brandon Moreno being the one who shows up and gets the finish. I think the under 4.5 is my spot here, getting plus money on that under, so this thing doesn't go all 25 minutes yet again. I think that's my sweet spot for this fight.
Let's see what happens.
Let's see. All right, it is main event time, folks. Main event time, and you know what that means. That means I got to run a commercial for you. Sit tight. We'll be right back.
Where's the bang, Preston? Come on.
I can't breathe.
Pub Sports Radio. Come find us in Southtown 101. Subscribe on YouTube and all platforms where podcasts are found.
This is Pub Sports Radio, folks, and we are live for every single MMA event under the sun. PFL, Bellator, UFC, we're always doing live shows. We do live in-game betting, and yes, freakouts like that happen on a regular basis. Shout out to my guy, Billy Bills, who cashed Montana De La Rosa via TKO at 42-1 in the second round, specifically just this past Saturday. So make sure you come hang out with us, subscribe here to Pub Sports Radio, and we will definitely be doing a good one on Saturday. I am joined by my man Dan from Half the Battle Best Fight Picks here talking UFC 263, and it is time for the main event. Marvin Vettori gets his second crack at champion stylebender Israel Adesanya, the last stylebender. Man, this fight has been a long time coming, and I know there's a lot of people out there that are not big fans of, well, either of these guys, honestly, but I think Marvin Vettori has been on a tear since the first time they fought, and he is more than deserving of this second crack at the champ. We've got Israel Adesanya coming off of his failed attempt at becoming a champ. He went up to 205 and got embarrassed by my guy, the legendary Polish power, Jan Blachowicz. He's coming back down to where he reigns at 185, and he needs to reestablish dominance and obtain that hype that he used to have. Marvin Vettori is a tough customer, man. This kid, we talk about fighters that have bad gas tanks, and a lot of people talk about Marvin Vettori having a bad gas tank, but the fact of the matter is he's a mind over matter type of fighter. He gets tired, he does not quit. He will appear to be tired in the fight, but he will himself and force himself to continue in those fights, and I think that's an admirable quality. He's a steel trap in his brain, even though he is a little bit emotional leading up to the fights, pre-fight. He's solid, man. I like Marvin Vettori. His striking game is coming along. He's got excellent grappling, excellent takedowns, offensive submissions, nice ground and pound. The question is, can he do that to Israel Adesanya? I think this is a spot where we, very much like the last fight, have a clear recency bias in the public eye, because we just saw Israel Adesanya get put on his back and out-grappled for 25 minutes. Everyone's lining up and expecting Marvin Vettori to be able to do the exact same thing. And I just got to wonder, have y'all forgot? Like, this is Israel Adesanya. At 185, he's a monster. At 205, Jan was twice as thick as this man. Like, there's no way he was pushing off Jan and getting that man off of him once his back hit the mat. At 185, it's a different story. I truly believe that we're going to see Israel Adesanya reestablish dominance on Saturday. On the feet, he is unmatched. He's got a significant 6-inch reach advantage, which is hard enough to get around. But the fact that he's not fighting somebody that walks around at 205 pounds, or by fight time, I'm sure was around 230, I think he's going to have a much easier time getting up from under someone like Marvin Vettori and even defending those takedowns entirely. At range, you don't fuck with Israel Adesanya. I don't care how good Marvin Vettori's striking has gotten. He's not going to be able to touch Izzy at range. And I think that Israel Adesanya with bad intentions is a bad man. Anytime we've seen him come into the cage with bad intentions, he has flatlined his opponent, and I expect him to do the same here. Marvin Vettori has 25 minutes locked in the cage with Izzy, and I honestly am seeing a late TKO style finish. I haven't done my round 3, 4, and 5 prop sprinkles for some time. I think it's coming back on Saturday because I expect Israel Adesanya to be able to pick Marvin Vettori apart when they slow down, when they tire out, when we talked about, you keep standing up, you gas out your opponent from all those grappling attempts, those takedowns. When he forces Vettori to strike with him in rounds 4 and 5, I think he's going to put him down, and he's going to put him down hard in the late quarter of this fight. Dan, talk to me, man. Are we going head-to-head here? Do you agree with me on the main event for UFC 263?
No, I mean, I think it's a situation where obviously you can't write off Izzy just because he lost to the champ up a weight class in a competitive fight. But let me point out some similarities between Blachowicz or Blachowicz, as I like to say, and Vettori. So you watch that fight between Israel and Jan Blachowicz, and first 2 rounds, Izzy was outstriking him, doing his thing. Third round, that's when the takedowns started to happen. Now, it's not a situation, again, talking about ground game, it's not, people are going to be like, oh, Izzy has no ground game. Oh, really? If he had no ground game, then how come Jan Blachowicz didn't pass his guard and pound him out? That's no ground game. So he has his get-up game isn't the best. This we can agree on, but to sit here, act like the man has no ground game is just categorically false, right? So, but here's the similarity, Clint. Round 3 was when Jan Blachowicz was able to get the takedown, then subsequently in 4 and 5. In Izzy versus Marvin's first fight, it was round 3 where Marvin was able to get the takedown and Izzy couldn't get back up. So that's what I'm worried about, man, because, yeah, on the feet, look, Vettori's got a fucking insane chin. Oh, my God, that guy's got a blockade. You hit him with a baseball bat, he's going to look at you and laugh, right? So he's going to be eating a lot of shots. And I even saw Kevin Holland rock him with something, just Kevin Holland couldn't keep the fight standing. So to me, it's about, can Izzy not only keep it standing, but if he does get taken down, because, like, again, I don't think that, Izzy's about to get his guard passed or get submitted or fucking get ground and pound TK. Like, dude, let's not even let's not even go there. The only thing I'm worried about is him getting held down. Like, because the times I've seen him taken down against Blachowicz and against Vettori, he wasn't able to get back up. So that's what I'm worried about. And then another thing, which I'm not sure if this is logical or maybe this is superstitious. I kind of have a thing about like destiny, man. Like there's a night where like guys like will just simply not be denied. Like, for example, Charles Oliveira paid his dues for so many fucking years that just like he just wasn't going to be denied that night. When Dustin Poirier fought Max Holloway in Atlanta for the belt, like Max is a fucking stud, but Dustin's been, you know, paying his dues for so long, he just wasn't going to be denied that night. When Bisping fought Luke Rockhold, it doesn't matter about who's the more physical guy or who won the first fight. Bisping, that culmination of years of work, like just all leads up to that one moment. So if this is truly Marvin's time, then I accept it. And I will not be surprised if he becomes the new champ. But my pick has to be Izzy because all fights do start standing, Clint, and there's a massive edge on the feet here. And I do think he's going to pick him apart. I mean, I don't know if he's going to get a knockout because this dude, Marvin's got a fucking iron jaw, iron will, just the determination to win. Maybe he will be the champion. It's just, when are these takedowns going to come? Is it going to be in the third round, kind of like the trend indicates, like the first Vettori fight and also like the Blachowicz fight? Like I said, they weren't able to get takedowns until round 3. This is a 5-round fight. And Izzy wasn't able to get back up. That's what I'm worried about. So that's what makes it so intriguing to me, Clint. That's why I do think that Vettori is a deserving contender. And I think that this has the potential to be a great fight. So this is one of those fights where I'm not going to call it favorite or pass. I'm not going to call it dog or pass because I truly believe you can make a legitimate argument for both guys. I mean, Izzy's been a money train. What's his record? 20-1?
Yeah.
Or 19-1? Like basically he's won, I don't know the percentage off the top of my head, but over 95% of the fights.
His only loss came up a weight class, man. He's undefeated at 185.
If you bet him every fight, you're up. Let's just leave it at that. But same thing can be said for Marvin Vettori, and he's the dog here. So that's what makes it intriguing. So people that are, you know, taking the side on Vettori, I understand. Let's get him down and let's make sure he doesn't get back up. It's just, you know, Izzy's got to know that that's what's coming. It's just, can he stop it? Knowing it's coming and stopping it are two different things. So that's what makes this fight really hard for me. But I'm going to say Izzy edges out 3 of the rounds and gets a 48-47. But I really believe Marvin's going to give a spirited effort because this is a life's work. This is a guy who's paid his dues. I mean, you remember when he was in the UFC at like 22 years old, losing to Antonio Carlos Jr., right? Look at him now, right? 2 main events in a row, dominates guys thoroughly for 5 rounds straight. He takes them down. They can't get back up. So that's what I'm worried about here. But I'm gonna edge with Izzy Adesanya and still.
Okay. All right. So we agree on that one. I'm a bit more confident on this side than Dan is, and that's totally fine. I completely agree that Marvin Vettori has paid his dues, and I completely agree that he is one of these fighters that tends to be a bit undeniable in the way that he approaches these fights. But at 185, I simply think that Israel Adesanya is on another level, man. I think that's all it comes down to is at home in his weight class, he is a different monster. And I think that Marvin Vettori, while there's some similarities between him and Jan, he is not Jan. I think the size difference is a big factor in those takedowns. And I do think that there's going to be an opportunity for Israel Adesanya to get that knockout. Whether he comes out and does it like he did Rob, where it's a starching early, whether he manages to hang in there and has to do it late, he could get this thing done by decision as well by just banking those early rounds. I think Israel Adesanya is going to be and still come Saturday night. That is the breakdown for all of UFC 263. We've gone nearly 2.5 hours for you folks, looking for every single angle, turning over all the stones, letting you know what we think about everything on this fight. So good luck on all of your action, making bets on Saturday. There's a lot of fun stuff. We've got great shows coming up. I'm going to have the Total Takedown. I've got the post-weigh-in show, the undefeated post-weigh-in show on Friday. Of course, my guys in the chat, we've got, Connor Mack, DFS, Jimmy the Bag's always doing his thing. My guy Nick handles the live streams. Locker Room does the Bet Your Lunch Money. Billy Bill's in the house as well. Razor Sharp Picks giving out shit. And we have to make a massive thank you, a special shout out to my guy, Dan Levy from Half the Battle at Best Fight Picks on Twitter, man. Thank you so much for flying in. You saved the show. You got me an awesome guest for a fantastic card. And not only that, you brought Eryk, your boy Andrews, with you live to the podcast. So we owe you a huge debt of gratitude. The floor is yours, my friend, if you want to shout anything out. If you've got anybody you want to spotlight, let the people know where they can find you. Now's your time.
No, I mean, obviously, Clint, it's always a pleasure. I'm really happy to see your success. I want to see you go all the way, like I've told you in the past. So I'm cheering for you, man. Truly appreciate you. To all the fans, everybody that enjoyed it, and everyone, you know, a couple of people talking shit. I still appreciate y'all too, man. We're all entitled to our opinions, but at the end of the day, be a good person, and that's what counts, really. So follow me at Best Fight Picks on Twitter. My podcast is called Half the Battle, and also download the Press Sports app. It is so badass. I am telling you, Press Sports, check it out. And thank you guys again. Truly appreciate it.
Thank you very much, Dan. I appreciate it. And everybody, like I said before, good luck on all your bets. We may disagree on picks, and that's okay. That's what the betting market is there for. That's what it's all about. But one thing that in sports betting specifically, but a lesson that you can take into your regular life that can help you feel more fulfilled and happier is that we're allowed to change our minds. We're allowed to learn our lessons. And honestly, if you're not changing your mind, if you're not understanding, receiving new information, learning and growing, then you're doing it wrong. And you're never going to allow yourself to be a better person than you were yesterday. You're never going to be a more successful gambler, and you're just not going to have the opportunity to achieve your full potential. So when people change their minds, when people digest new information and it shifts the way they view the world, don't let that be a negative. Don't let that be something that bothers you. Embrace that. Make sure you are open to new thoughts, new ideas, new perspectives. Have a great week. We will see you all later this week, and let's roll.